In an encampment, the cook is waking everyone up with the banging of his pan, which makes most of the soldiers rise from their beds, including one Encrid, who has been causing a lot of trouble for everyone, so he was demoted to squad leader for a bunch of dumbasses. Shortly after, an attack begins, and even if Encrid does not have any special abilities, he got here with his endless training, and this is why now he is able to put up a fight on the battlefield. Even if he can down 1 or 2 men, eventually he is put to the ground, as he holds no talents, and he knows that his dream is out of his reach for someone so untalented. Tons of people die around him as he tries to grab his sword, which makes him recoil. He thought that even if everyone around him mocked him for trying to achieve his dream, as long as he had his blade, he could manage somehow. Now though, the dream of becoming a knight is removed from his mind, as he can only think about his imminent death. Even this was pathetic. So that means the people who were praying for his downfall got their wish. As his mind drifts to the abyss, he sees a blue flame standing in front of him, and in a few moments he awakes again, in the same bed that he did today. He thinks that this was a dream, but when the soldier next to him says the exact same thing he did in the dream, he wonders if it truly was just that, and a sense of déjà vu envelops him. He has no choice but to go back to the battlefield, where the same fate meets him again and again. The 4th time this happens, he starts questioning everything, as he can still feel the enemy's piercing sword in his neck. It felt hot, and the pain was unimaginable. He observes the battle closely, and comes to the realization that this day keeps on repeating. But now he knows what will happen to him, and he refuses to give up. The enemy comes at him with a perfect stab, in positioning and everything. This is the 17th time he sees his own death coming straight for him, and he cannot do anything about it like he hoped before. If only he trained in the sword better, put more effort into it, and worked a little bit harder. Perhaps he wouldn't have to suffer and die like this if he did. As he lays in the world between life and death, the blue flame appears again, this time captured in a lamp, and someone on a boat asks if he really thinks that. He should just try to struggle and feel it properly, and then he should give up. He should fully feel the despair of an immovable object in front of him. Encrid becomes enraged as he hears this, and determination fills his eyes. He is already awake when the cook wakes them up, and he immediately tells the guy next to him, Rem, that he has a bug in his boots. When he looks, he actually finds it, and after crushing it, he asks if he put it in as a sort of prank or something. Encrid explains that he saw it crawl in his boot earlier. This is his 18th time seeing that bug, making him wonder, how many more times will he see it before this nightmare ends? Since he was young, he chose to wield the sword and learned swordsmanship from a returned mercenary that came to his village. The first spark of his dream came from him, as he congratulated him for being so good, to the point where he fully believed that he could become a knight. That's when Encrid began to dream. Someone like him, a true knight. The knights are people who can slay thousands on their own and change the flow of battle in an instant. They are incredible heroes that everyone respects. Like any child, he thought that he could become the knight who can finish a war, the knight of the end, which was the protagonist of a song he heard from a wandering minstrel. That is when he decided that he wanted to be the main character too, and leave the village in order to become a knight. However, people started to laugh at him as soon as he left the village to pursue his dream, as he joined a mercenary corps, and they were all making fun of how he ran away from a stray dog because it scared him. This way, he learned that his talent is really nothing special, but it was too early for him to give up, so he trained constantly, as hard work is something that never betrays you. Even if he had no talent, Encrid believed that with time and lots of effort, even in the most harsh places, he could overcome every limit he had, and thus, he gained a lot of experience. He also gained the strength and endurance to be acknowledged by people around him. That is when hope returned to him, and it returned in full swing. Unfortunately for him, that strong hope was shattered in a moment by a child. There was a 12-year-old boy who requested a duel. He was from the village he was currently resting in. Even with his age and the fact that he started learning how to wield the sword only 6 months ago, he defeated the idiot who spent almost his entire life learning the sword, to the point where his calluses developed calluses. Despair started to befall him. Was his work all in vain? Is there really no way out of being untalented? Encrid truly wanted to be a knight, and even if everyone laughed at him for it, saying that it was a hopeless venture, he refused to give up. He spent a lot less time eating and sleeping and started to swing and swing until the sun started to rise and he was completely out of stamina. Even if he hit the tree with tons of attacks, all he could get out of it was a couple of cuts. That's when he thought that even if he could not become his dream, he could at least become an experienced soldier. He screamed out at the unfairness of the world and continued to swing, as this was all he could do. 3 years later, in the present, he is in the Cyprus division, with the 4 companies, the 4 platoons, and below that, the 4 squads. Encrid became the squad commander of a second-rate squad, the best position he could achieve after his manic training. Still, it's much better than being a mercenary, as he is a soldier of the kingdom after all. Encrid walks up to one of his squad members named Jackson and tells him to do his morning duty for him, as he has to do something. Jackson looks at him for a bit and says that he will have to repay him next time. Rem can't believe that he dared to look at someone of a higher position than him in that way. That guy is going to lose his head one day. Encrid doesn't care about that, as he wants to learn the heart of the beast again. Rem is quite surprised by this, but asks why he wants to do it again. He thought that he gave up on trying to learn it. Shortly after this, the Nolilia vs. Aspen close combat battle began once again, and he died like before. Encrid was tired of reliving the same day over and over, but he used this time to learn the heart of the beast from Rem each time he came back. Even so, he still cannot see the tip of the sword that kills him, and he hopes that today will be the last day where he has to go through this. As the soldiers scream out and engage in fighting, Encrid notes that this is the 21st time on this same battlefield, and by now, he has completely memorized the situation. First, he dodges the spear that comes from behind. Next, there is a guy who will attack him from behind, and after that, a squad member by the name of Vel will die. However, this time, Encrid protects him from the arrow and from the rampaging soldier that is coming to kill him. His plan finally worked. As before, even if he blocked the arrow, he would still die. Today is the first time he has survived. What is left now is to kill the bastard who will stab him in the neck and whom he meets even if he tries desperately not to. This bastard has stabbed him in the same spot 20 times, but this time it will be different. He will see his blade. He will survive. Rem told him that since he always closes his eyes when something dangerous comes his way, he is left vulnerable, and to prove his point, he aimed an axe at his neck. He told him that he needed to be brave and not easily agitated. He has to become a bastard who does not know about death, like a beast who is fighting with everything it has for survival. That is the heart of the beast. Encrid wonders if he is afraid of death, but he has felt it too many times for that to be true. Death is his friend, as it makes him stronger. For the first time, he manages to dodge his impending doom, and his heart starts to beat out of his chest. He is extremely happy with this, and tries to retaliate, but the expert swordsman in front of him uses a skillful technique and stabs him in the neck once again, ending his life. The boatman greets him again, and says that on this day, he will only feel pain and despair, so he should give up and get on the boat. He should acknowledge himself as weak and be at ease in the afterlife. Unfortunately for him, the boatman has picked the wrong person to challenge, as Encrid refuses to go with him, and gives up as he finally sees the tip of the sword he thought impossible to see. Even if it takes him 100 days, he will get out of this loop. Eventually, Encrid arrives at the 33rd time he is on the battlefield, and now he can clearly see the first attack that ended his life so many times. But even if he manages to dodge it, he cannot dodge the next one, as his enemy is way too fast, so he falls to the ground, and another death is counted. In his time as a mercenary, he took up a few quests for monster subjugation. It's not like he really wanted to, but he just came to a random village where he was asked to help. The reason he decided to help them was because of his dream, as protecting the weak is what a knight does after all. His reward for doing all of that work was a charm, something extremely cheap for how much he risked his life. But the village elder told him that this would grant what he was desperately wishing for. So Encrid wonders now if this is why this day keeps on repeating, just so that he can become a knight. He isn't dead yet, and tries to get up, but the soldier notices and says that he will show him some mercy, since he must be in a lot of pain. Encrid knows that this is just a facade, as this bastard is just a monster who enjoys stabbing people. He wakes up in his bed once again and tells Rem that he put a bug in his boot, which he is very mad about, as he didn't expect a squad leader to be so annoying. Encrid tells him to stop talking and come outside, as he wants to learn the heart of the beast again. When they go and do that, Encrid is able to accurately dodge Rem's incoming attacks, which surprised him, as he didn't expect the skin of his heart to get so thick. Encrid says that he just trained, but Rem notes that this technique takes time to learn. There is no way that his family technique could be taught to someone else so easily, but he does not know that Encrid has gone through hell and back with it, and the sensation of impending death he felt each time made him much more proficient in it. He tells him that he probably got it by chance, but he wants to spar now, which Rem is pleasantly surprised by and accepts. Even if he masters the heart of the beast, he will just get killed because he cannot land a single strike against that bastard. He continues to dodge Rem's incoming attacks because he doesn't possess any good attack techniques. He only knows one, which is the Valen mercenary sword technique. It's quite anomalous, and it was made by someone named Valen. As the name implies, it's a technique that some speak ill of, and others call it a petty trick. Even so, he has something else he wishes to try. He tries to imitate the stab of his murderer, and he does so pretty well, but Rem can easily throw his sword away with sheer force. Still, for a moment he imitated that stab perfectly. Since he died to it more than a few times, his body remembers it well. Rem says that among what he showed him in this spar, that stab was the most decent, but he should put more impact into it. He tries to explain it the best he can, but he isn't really that smart. So he just says that he shouldn't doubt his attack and put everything into it, to the point where he can already see the enemy in front of him dead. That way, he shouldn't lose grip on his sword. Encrid thinks that this was a horrid explanation, but he got it. The difference between his stab and that bastard is that he is not confident in his blade. He must do like he does every time he kills him, stab with the intent to kill the person in front of him. He tries to do it again but fails, resulting in his death. Even if he has to do it a step at a time or even a quarter of a step, he will advance no matter what. The days continue to pass as he trains and dies. The 11th day, the 123rd day, but finally, on the 124th day, he lets out a strike that Rem has no choice but to dodge, which he calls him crazy for, as he puts so much force into that attack that blood is coming out, and his smile really isn't helping his image. But Encrid couldn't care less, as he has finally mastered that bastard stab technique. The first time he tried this technique, he managed to graze the soldier's head, but even if he failed and was stabbed again, he did not blink and didn't even let go of his sword. The soldier said his usual line, that this is mercy, but Encrid promised him that tomorrow he was going to die. This made the soldier smile, as the dead have no tomorrow, but he does not know. This time Encrid crushes the bug before it goes into Rem's boot and tells him to take his guard duty, making Rem wonder when he became so pushy. This marks the 125th day of the loop. He tells someone called Big Eyes to get him some shin armor, a shield, and a dagger, as he will pay for them later. Big Eyes reluctantly accepts, but he tells him that he is doing it only because he trusts him. Rem comes from behind and notes that the squad commander is becoming a little pushy, but Jackson says that they always push their tasks to him, so this is just revenge from his side. Rem doesn't know what to say, but he's acting weird, like he is extremely tense. As Encrid trains, he thinks that every time he dies, he feels a lot of pain, and his mind starts to wander. What if he never wins, even after tens of thousands of tries? What if he can find another way to escape and survive? Would he wake up the next day or still end up in this loop? He is much stronger than before. Isn't that worth something? Shouldn't he be content with what he has? But he steels himself once again. Giving up was never an option. He has to surpass the wall put in front of him no matter what. By learning how to stab efficiently, he proves that he won't abandon the blessing that he was given. With his mind more made up than ever before, he equips all of the equipment he needs and thinks about only moving forward. He and his squad join the ongoing battle, which Encrid is prepared for. He is a person with no skills, but he managed to survive all of this because of three things: preparation, luck, and maintaining a cool head. On the 46th day, his left shoulder was completely shattered by a spiked mace, and on the 47th day, he rolled to dodge the mace, but someone crushed his head instead. With this information, he is able to kill the mace guy with a single slash. But on the 71st day, when he first did this, a soldier cut his foot off, so he couldn't do anything to the stabbing soldier. This is why he got the shin armor, and is now easily able to take that soldier out. On the 89th day, his head was split completely open because somebody threw an axe at his head. If he lets him live now, he will interrupt his main fight. So he trained in throwing weapons throughout the day, meaning that it's not difficult for him to counterattack. After all of that, Vel always ends up behind him, and a sharpshooter called the Claw of the Hawk, which he doesn't have the time to take out, but he can protect Vel. And after this comes the wall, which he meets with determination. The stabbing soldier goes for his shield first, which he breaks, letting Encrid dash away. As dodging and stabbing won't give him any chances of winning, strategies like this serve him much better. This guy is just a regular soldier, but he is strong, at the level of a prodigy almost. But there is one thing he lacks: real fighting experience. Encrid uses this to his advantage and headbutts him before using the Valen mercenary technique. He gathers some dirt in front of his boot and throws it in the eyes of the stabber, allowing him to finally have the upper hand. But the stabber becomes mad at this provocation and goes for Encrid's neck, who knows that he had to dodge and does so expertly. This makes the both of them stand behind each other, and as the stabber goes for another attack, Encrid now knows everything about that stab, so he hits his sword in such a way that it completely shatters. At the same time, the Claw of the Hawk aims and shoots another arrow. Encrid now has the complete advantage and prepares to stab the bastard with his own technique, but that arrow moves straight for him. That's when one of Rem's axes flies through the air and breaks it, just in time for Encrid to finish his revenge. Rem wishes to go for that bastard, but he doesn't have enough time. As the battle rages on, Encrid enjoys his victory, and as the stabber crouches down while bleeding out, Encrid raises his sword in the air, as this is mercy. With that, he cuts his head off, and finally breaks through the wall that was put in front of him. Suddenly, he is attacked by a strange being and sent flying, which the others identify as a frog. The frog person notes that he spent quite a bit to raise this one, but to think that he would be defeated by a weakling, well, it doesn't really matter, as he will die now. Before he can strike Encrid one last time, Rem comes in clutch and starts fighting the frog person with everything he has, both of them emanating the spirit of a warrior. At the same time, one random soldier tries to kill the incapacitated Encrid, but Jackson quickly decapitates him. Rem and the frog person back away from each other, and Rem says that if he wishes to kill the squad commander, he has to go through him first. The frog person is surprised that he isn't the commander, and Rem thinks that the frog people are a warrior race, born to be on the battlefield. He is either going to have to burn him with magic, or pierce his heart. The frog person doesn't understand why someone like the man in front of him is on this battlefield. To kill him, he will have to put his life on the line, which he doesn't think is worth it, so he just backs away. As Jackson escorts Encrid out, the others help him along the way by killing any attackers, and they eventually get the order to retreat, which Encrid hears, meaning that finally, he has survived this day. He goes back to the land between the living and the dead, with the boatman telling him that he managed to survive, but this is all he can do because he will not be able to go through the walls that will keep appearing in front of him. His fate is filled with despair, so he should just give up now. Encrid slowly gets up and says that for him, walls do not exist to stop him. They exist to be overcome. The boatman likes his attitude, and so he will wait for the moment when those eyes filled with hope will completely lose their light. With that, Encrid awakens in the infirmary tent, and Rem, who is beside him, says that he has been sleeping for 2 days. He was actually the one who saved him from that frog bastard, so he better be thankful. Encrid didn't know that he was hit by a frog. It's amazing that he managed to live. Rem explains that his bones are not broken, but his head was shaken up pretty badly, so he does remember that they are best friends, right? Encrid notes that he never said they are friends, calling him a noble hunter, which makes Rem shut him up, as he can't just blurt out people's secrets without a thought like that when he has nothing to do with it. Anyway, Encrid is glad that he was able to get out of that loop alive after so many days. Later, Big Eyes, real name Crace, comes to the infirmary, as he wants payment threefold, as he also paid for getting him in here. Encrid wondered why he was in the infirmary when soldiers like him would be left to tend to themselves. To lower the price, Encrid asks where he was when the battle started, as he didn't see him anywhere. Crace says that he will give him a special discount if he shuts up, which he accepts. Much later, Jackson comes around and hands him some medicine that he will apply twice a day, in the morning and evening, but he shouldn't ask how he got it. Encrid notices that this is the ointment he always uses, which is surprising since Jackson doesn't share his personal items at all. Around the same time, Auden also comes and starts praying for him, but Encrid says that he's not dead, so he can leave. As night falls, Encrid wonders why they are all taking shifts looking after him, as they are probably busy, as they usually are. Perhaps they are worried about him. That's when Ragna comes around, and is surprised to see him in the infirmary before leaving. Encrid notes that Ragna is exempt from this, as that guy wouldn't care if the world ended tomorrow. Besides him, there are 2 other soldiers in the infirmary, a platoon commander from another company who he used to pick fights with, and one soldier that he doesn't know the name of who is always staring at a wall. As he thinks about him, a person with long ears and royal armor comes around, asking for the commander of the 444th Squad, which is Encrid. The platoon commander notices that she is a fairy, and she asks which group he is with as a result. He explains that he's Vengeance, the commander of the 3rd platoon in the 2nd company. She then asks if his company taught him to state his race when he meets a superior, which he apologizes for. Encrid thinks that this must be the new commander of the 4th company, and he also introduces himself as a result. She has heard that he is leading his difficult squad quite well, so she looks forward to his future contributions. With that, she just walks away, confusing Encrid. But she suddenly stops and asks the young soldier who is in the infirmary what his name is. It takes him a while to say it, as he comes up with the name of Krang, but even Encrid notices that he just made it up. His attitude in front of a superior is bad too. Is he a noble of some sort? The woman just looks at him and leaves. Late at night, Encrid feels almost no pain, and he can put some strength into his body, meaning that he should resume training. Vengeance asks where he is going, and when he reveals that he is going to the training area, Vengeance calls him an idiot, as he shouldn't act tough when he is the lowest ranking soldier there is. Encrid eventually finds a quiet spot and recalls the past battle, as it was one of the few useful methods he spent tons of cash on in order to learn. First, he thinks about what would have happened if his attack had failed. Perhaps it's not a good idea to put all of his strength into one attack, but if that attack fails, he dies anyway. If Rem's attacks were lethal, after he stabbed his sword with all of his might, what would be the next move? Suddenly, someone interrupts his meditation and notes that he's working hard, that someone is Krang, who doesn't know what he's doing, but his hands kept twitching in the infirmary, and now he's just spacing out here? Encrid explains that he was doing the first thing to test his grip, and now he's replicating the battle. Crank asks why he's doing that, and Encrid puts it quite well, so that he doesn't get butchered on the battlefield. Krang then asks if he wants to become something by preserving his life like this. Encrid knows that what he wishes to become is his dream, but when he tells it to other people, they just laugh at him, a dream that he has always pursued. However, this dream is something that he will never stop pursuing, so he is proud to say that he wants to become a knight. Krang is quite surprised by this, and Encrid notes that this is the first time he sees someone not laughing at him for saying that. Krang says that he just forgot, but he suddenly remembered what he needed to do after watching him. If he becomes a knight though, he should at least remember his name. Encrid thinks that this is new, as he was never supported up until now. A wandering minstrel arrives at the camp and starts singing songs about legendary heroes, while Vengeance wants his morning rations to come already. Because of all of this, Encrid decides to take a walk, where he meets with Jackson, who asks how his injuries are doing. He says that because of the medicine he has been doing well. He's quite thankful for it. Jackson tells him to come back already if he's thankful. Later that night, Krang wishes him a good night, and he does the same, making Vengeance say that they should just marry each other if they are so close. As he drifts off to sleep, Encrid thinks that this was a day with nothing important in it. When he wakes up, the minstrel is still singing about Cyprus, and Vengeance is once again complaining about the food, just like yesterday. That's when Encrid gets it, and as he walks outside in the same spot, Jackson once again asks how his injuries are. When Encrid responds the same way, and Jackson answers the same way, his suspicions are confirmed, and a vision of the boatman comes to mind. While he was sleeping, he died without even noticing. He died like a dog, without even knowing it. But now he's even more determined to overcome this challenge. As night falls, Encrid wonders who killed him and why, as the enemy isn't able to go through their defenses so easily, meaning that an assassin did, someone who is probably among them. They know his location and how to conceal their presence. His mind jumps to the fairy, as they are a race that is known for being quiet and nimble. Is this why she came here that day? He must confirm it, as he can't throw out baseless accusations. He just needs to wait. That's when a poisoned needle stabs him in the neck from above, and he only manages to fall down as the numbness of the poison takes him. He notices that Vengeance is also poisoned, but Krang is stabbed by the assassin, and another assassin comes into the tent as the job is finished, that assassin being none other than the company leader. Encrid thinks that even if he was alert, he couldn't feel them. This will be hard to counter. Plus, he will have to face the company commander after he is done killing the commander. It's a truly hopeless situation. He didn't expect for this feeling to return so quickly. But despite all of the trials put in front of him, he came out on top, and so he will definitely find a way to get out. He pulls the sheets above Vengeance, and prepares to strike because he assumed that the assassins would have infiltrated by now, but it seems that he needs to be wary of the outside. Vengeance wonders what he's doing, but notes that he must be hunting cockroaches. A fitting thing for him. Encrid didn't expect for him to care so much, which gets Vengeance mad, and at the same time, Krang comes inside, wondering if he should come back later and let them bicker. Encrid tells him to come in and looks at him while he makes his bed. Considering the assassins took him out in another way, he must be their target. But why? Just who is he? He thinks of not digging into it like his teammates usually do with most things. But since he is involved, he has the right to. He asks what he is, which Krang doesn't know how to respond to, but eventually says that it's not something he can say because it's a long story. Encrid just accepts it for what it is. But Vengeance can't believe that he just took that, as he has a feeling that this guy is not from this country, meaning that he must be a spy from another country. That has to be it. Krang gets closer to him and says that he has not and will never betray the kingdom. As he said that, Encrid felt something in his eyes, the will and aura of a knight, but he is not one, as he is powerless against the assassins. Though now he has confirmed that he is hiding something that he doesn't want to tell. As night falls and they wish each other good night, Vengeance falls silent, perhaps because he is scared of Krang now. The assassins are also about to barge in soon, so he gets up and tells the others that some assassins are going to invade this tent. They better come with him if he wants to leave. The others think that he is crazy, but that's when someone asks how he noticed, and he is hit at a vital point before he can even try anything. The assassin kills all of them in seconds, and Encrid wakes up to the minstrel singing again. Since he has no way of letting the others know that the assassin is coming, he can't get them on board. At first he tries to get help from a commander, who tells him to screw off, so he tries to predict the assassin's movements, but he is killed in an instant. Next, he tries to ambush the ambusher, but he is killed without even knowing where the assassin was, as he cannot see him, though they can see his every move. As long as he cannot avoid that poison blade, he will die without being able to do a single thing. The 20th morning arrives, and Encrid falls into the pits of despair but crawls right back out, as he has only died 20 times. He needs to think of how to get rid of the needle first, and a way to avoid fast attacks, so he goes to Jackson for it. While they were training, he asked Rem why he was calling Jackson a wildcat. He explained that he only attacks when he's behind someone and then runs off, which reminded him of a cat. Encrid assumes that he would win against the assassins, and he can't just take him in since he has no authority to do so, but even if he could, he must pass this wall alone, so he will learn from the best. He asks Jackson, if someone were to stab him in the back, what could he do in order to stop it? Jackson thinks about it and is not sure, as nobody has ever survived his ambushes, something that Encrid takes note of. Jackson notices Encrid's desperate stare and relents, telling him that he always needs to have eyes in the back of his head. Encrid asks what that means, and Jackson explains that it's basically perfect timing. For example, the wagon behind the tents that's just passing by now. Encrid is shocked to find that there's actually a wagon behind him. But how did he know? Does he really have eyes in the back of his head? Jackson also says that the wagon is going to come apart, and only seconds later, that happens. Encrid asks if he's some type of prophet with a hidden talent, but Jackson notes that he just must have spent too much time with Rem to think that. Jackson tells him that he simply followed sound, as he heard the axle of the wagon creak from here. If he can efficiently hear what's around him, he can basically predict what's going to happen next. Encrid is more surprised that he heard something so quiet, as he didn't even hear the wagon in the first place. Jackson leaves him with one final piece of advice. He should keep trying to listen to what's around him, and hone his senses to help him isolate sounds better. Encrid notes that this was a pretty good explanation, too good for someone as lazy as him. Jackson tells him to not get the wrong idea. He is lazy, but he doesn't want to have him on his consciousness for not helping, and nowadays, it seems like he keeps trying to learn new things. After night falls, Encrid attempts to face his second wall in the face of a sure death. The only objective he must complete is to hear them coming. He hears the footsteps of the guards that are on patrol, the sound of the torches, but no sound of the assassin. He tries desperately to hear him, but he ends up meeting the same fate, and awakes again to the annoying sound of an old tale. Even if he died, his body remembers everything as clearly as day. He remembers what he learned, and the pain he suffered. He goes back to Jackson once again, who tells him that he can get a lot of information from sound, as it can tell him the location of something purely based on the direction, and once he is able to hear faint sounds, his ears will have become the second pair of eyes he needs. He suddenly snaps his fingers and tells Encrid that sound is a wave. It rings out in all directions, no matter how silent it may be. In the chaos of 1,000 sounds mixed together, he needs to isolate one and maintain it. Encrid goes to try just that in one of the busiest parts of the camp, and practices what Jackson taught him. He first isolates the sound of the flags flying about. There must be at least 7 to 10 flags flying together. Then he isolates the sounds of the footsteps that are right next to him. He attempts to feel every single sound, the familiar and unfamiliar, whatever they may be. Suddenly Krang appears and asks what kind of training he's doing now, while also calling him Ensi. Encrid asks about that weird nickname, and Krang notes that it's just a nickname. He must be fine with it, right? Encrid sure isn't, but he also doesn't care that much. As for the training, he is just sitting around here like an idiot doing nothing, not actually training. Krang finds that strange, as he doesn't seem to be the type of man who sits around and wastes his time, right? Night falls once again, and the same things happen. He is poisoned, and Krang is stabbed to death. This is the 33rd day, another failure. On the 34th day, Encrid didn't hear a single thing again, and he continued this cycle of failure again and again. What Encrid needs isn't more experience, divine intervention, or a sudden realization. What he must repeatedly do is what he must do, no matter what. This time, when Krang attempts to sneak up on him, he opens his eyes before Krang can speak a word. Who is surprised that he actually sensed him? He must be training his perception, right? Since he isn't an idiot who wastes time. On this night, as soon as the assassin throws the poison needle, Encrid dodges decisively and strikes back at the assassin. From now on, the faceless death he has met countless times is no longer faceless. The assassin gets mad and retaliates right back at Encrid, who can feel that he's not great at combat. Despite his assassin abilities, he can kill him. He looks at the others to make sure they are okay. Vengeance is dead, but Krang is unsheathing his sword and getting ready for battle. Even if this guy is inexperienced, he will not let his guard down, as he is still an assassin and must know all of his vital points. He desperately tries to hit Encrid and finally gets him with a throwing knife, but that's when the fairy commander rushes in and Encrid moves his target to her. If he does not attack first, he will most certainly die. This action allows the assassin to throw a bunch of poison needles at Encrid's unsafe back and at Krang, who has no chance of defending himself. Instead of retaliating, the fairy rushes behind Encrid to catch all of the poison needles with her cape and then moves on to Krang, saving them both. Encrid previously thought that she was with the assassin, but now she protected them. Whatever the case may be, now's his chance to put an end to this. He rushes in blade first into the assassin, who manages to deflect his attack, but without much choice, he runs away, ending the night in a victory. Krang comes from behind and notes that the assassin must have come for him, which Encrid already knows, as nobody is going to pay for an assassin to kill a boot soldier like himself or vengeance. The fairy notes that it's precisely as he says. He has sharp senses for a soldier. Encrid notices how she's still gripping her sword tightly. She was an ally for him, but she cannot let something like this be known, and since he is a witness, he knows what must come next. Suddenly, Krang gets in front of him and tells the fairy commander that he has a favor to ask, as he doesn't want anyone to die today. The commander bows down to him and says that she will do as he wishes. Krang wants vengeance to be rescued too, as he can sense that he's not dead, and the commander confirms that with a little antidote, he should wake up soon. Encrid thinks that she must be knowledgeable about antidotes, and Krang moves on to cleaning up this mess, as it's going to be a bother if people find out assassins were in the camp. Encrid notes that nobody will be suspicious of anything if there is nothing left, which he has an idea for. Eventually, they burn down the entire tent, and people rush with water while they confirm that only 2 survivors remain out of the 3. With this, the traces of the assassins have been removed, and Krang will take care of anything else. He and the commander walk away from the camp in the dead of night, with the commander noting that if that squad leader hadn't slowed the assassin down, he would have died. Did he perhaps change his mind because of him? Krang confirms it, as that man is just too interesting. He has been trying to avoid something like this, but when he thinks about him, he just can't feel anything else. He must have rubbed off on him, but the next time they meet, they will do so in their respective roles. Inside Encrid's mind, the hollow scythe of the Reaper disappears, though the boatman comes around and says that he will meet death again in the future. Encrid is more confident than ever, and tells him to bring it on. Finally, he beat another repeating day, and managed to wake up the next morning. Now he can sense the presence of most things, but he still couldn't sense that fairy, so he has a lot to do when he gets back. Thankfully, he wasn't injured anywhere, so he can return now. But before he does, Vengeance asks why he saved him from the fire like that, as they didn't know each other. Encrid can't believe this guy is talking shit about him saving his sorry ass, but he says that they are comrades. There is no other reason needed than that. Vengeance feels kind of embarrassed, as he gave him a lot of crap before. He really is selfless. He also asks if he's returning to his squad, which Encrid confirms, and Vengeance tells him to prepare for an awful vibe when getting there. Encrid asks what happened, and Vengeance explains that there's a rumor going around, that the entire base is cursed by some kind of spirit. At the team camp, Ragna and Rem are bickering about something, which soon turns into a brawl, with everyone near them running away so as not to get hurt by these bastards. They continue their fighting with punch after punch, until Rem has had enough and promises to split his skull open, and Ragna tells him to bring it, as he is nothing but a stinking barbarian. Encrid comes around and says that the base isn't cursed, but he might as well be with these bastards. He tells them to stop, which puzzles them, as they thought he was dead, which Encrid denies, but he will soon go crazy if they don't stop doing this shit. 4 days have passed since Encrid has returned to his squad, and because of his improved senses, he notices Jackson, who is trying to leave quietly, and apologizes for waking him. Encrid says that it's fine, since he was going to wake up and go train anyway. Jackson also notes that he has a pretty keen hearing sense. Even though he only started a few days ago, he should keep it up, as he will help in any way possible. The usual battles are few and far between, since winter is steadily approaching. Since he has a lot of extra time, Encrid will use it to train himself until he cannot anymore, as that is the only thing he can do. When he gets back from his training, he notices Auden doing one-arm push-ups with a giant rock on his back. He says that he must be returning from his morning workout. He is keeping busy these days. He finishes his push-ups and gets up, towering over Encrid as he does so. He notes that a well-trained body is a weapon too, so he should be able to withstand a kick from the frog now, though his body is still too thin, so he should keep training like he has done up until now. Encrid thinks that he's just too large, but says that he will try. As they try to talk about something else, a commotion can be heard in the nearby tent, as Rem has kicked Ragna off of his bed, since it was his turn for duty, yet he dares to still sleep like a lazy bastard. The barely awake Ragna crawls to his sword and grabs it before hurling it at Rem, who already had his axes prepared. They are again stopped by Encrid, who asks what they are doing, and Auden prays for their foolish minds. Rem says that he's hungry, and this bastard who is on kitchen duty is still sleeping like a baby. Encrid tells him to go ahead and start cooking, which he agrees to. Rem calls him a bastard and says that there was no need for what he did if he was going to do it anyway, but Ragna pushes him away, as he stinks. Encrid asks Rem why he's picking fights for no reason. Is he that bored? He notes that it is precisely that. The lack of battles is making him very cranky and active. Encrid notes that he shouldn't waste his energy on a random person, and should come with him, as he wants to duel once again. They go and do just that, with Rem hitting him, and telling him to take them better while charging in once again. Encrid is keeping cool with the heart of the beast, and is using his new hearing to efficiently block hits. The most special thing, however, is the thing he practices while dying hundreds of times. His deadly stab. Naturally, Rem dodges, allowing him to grab his blade with one of his blades and grab him with his other hands. He makes Encrid fall to the ground with this momentum, ending the fight. He was expecting more from him since he has improved so much in a short span of time, but he has become really boring, as he keeps practicing that same stab again and again. Encrid knows what he's talking about, but now he knows that he is different than before. Now, he can repeat everything hundreds if not thousands of times, and still go forward. He beckons Rem for another fight, as he will make sure to destroy him. Rem thinks that this guy's skills are very lacking, but he cannot get enough of those determined eyes of his, so he agrees to continue fighting. Just when they get into position, a downpour of rain arrives, forcing them to retreat back inside. Rem hopes that he won't get a foot fungus because of all this dampness, while everyone is doing their thing, be it praying or sleeping. Christ comes inside too, and wonders how many times he will have to cancel his duels because of dumb rain like this. He's really starting to believe that they have been cursed. Encrid asks what curse he's talking about, and Christ notes that it's about the one from the rumors. Encrid remembers Vengeance talking about something similar, that their entire encampment is cursed. Christ notes that the weather is too unusual, the casualties have increased, and the incident with the medical tent isn't helping either. People are rightfully saying that it's some kind of curse, though it probably isn't true. This downpour will only add fuel to this fire. Encrid notes that the higher-ups will not let these rumors fly around for long. Krace asks what he's doing at the entrance, and Encrid explains he's training his senses. He wonders how he can do that when it's raining so hard, but Encrid notes that it's especially because of that. Rem notes that this won't do him any good, but Jackson congratulates him for finding a creative way to train, as it will certainly help him. Rem looks back at him and asks what he taught him, and since when did he start caring about anything, since it's so extremely loud in this place. The others also suggest other ways for him to train, like lying down or checking his posture. Rem now gets that these guys saw what he saw in Encrid. Every single one of them is attempting to help him in some way, because they want to see the flames in his eyes grow. In the commander's tent, a meeting is taking place, with the main commander noting that they should send a scouting party before the winter begins. Does anyone have any suggestions for filling in the remaining seats? The ferry commander suggests the 444th squad leader, which the main commander finds kind of dumb. Won't he just hold the scouts back? The ferry commander notes that he could bring some unexpected results to the table, and she recommends him purely out of her ferry instinct. The next day, Encrid gets the news that he is being sent to the scout unit. When he gets back to camp, Krace asks if he did something to piss the commanders off, while Encrid is getting dressed up. He notes that he didn't do a thing, though Krace finds that hard to believe. Encrid is still suspicious about the ferry commander. Perhaps she wants to deal with him after Krang has left. Rem comes around and asks if he is really going, as he can help him get out of this whole ordeal. Encrid says that he can't use his axe on Superior, like he unusually does, but Rem notes that he wouldn't tell him to do something so harsh. Encrid tells him not to actually do it while he's gone, as he has a history of doing stuff like that. Auden starts praying for him constantly, and Ragna offers himself to go in his stead. Encrid appreciates it, but the second he leaves the camp, he is bound to get lost, which the others agree with. Jackson explains that since he is going to the tall grass fields, he should pay attention to the changes in the grass noises. That's how he can spot an ambush from a mile away. Rem screams at him to stop teaching him weird, sneaky stuff, making Encrid wonder if it's alright to leave these guys here, as they will constantly fight. However, there's nobody better suited for this job. After he enlisted, because of his not-so-great skills, he was constantly moved around and filled in for others. The one place he ended up being useful in was right in this camp, as even on the day he came to their doorstep, they were fighting, but he was able to somehow control these miscreants. Encrid tells them that 'tis fine, and Rem wonders if he's brave or dumb. Jackson notes that he should be thanking him, as he would be the one with a hole in his heart by now, though Rem thinks that he would be the one without a head. Encrid thinks that even if they are how they are still very good fighters, so it would be a shame to lose them. Thinking like this won't lead to much anyway. He knows where he is in terms of skill, and all he needs to do is get better. Since the scouts are going to the front lines, he can spend his time training his senses. Another member of the scouting unit tells him to focus, as they may be the same rank of squad lead, but he is the leader of this scout squad, so if he has a problem, they should fight it out. This is Andrew Gardner, scout squad leader. The others laugh at Encrid's expense, as he is from the outcast squad. He probably doesn't even know how to hold a sword properly. Andrew notes that if he does challenge him, he will try to not hurt him. Since he is already useless, he can't be more than that. He then makes a statement to the squad. If the enemy comes, they just bash their skulls in. Simple as that. Encrid can't believe what he is seeing. The scout team, which is supposed to be silent, is now creating a ruckus out of nowhere, and the squad leader is also greener than a freshly sprouted flower. Will this mission really go well? Eventually, one of them finds some tracks, which Andrew recognizes as new tracks, so they should follow them and have themselves a succulent meal. Encrid can't believe his stupidity. As news travel in a group of 20, is he seriously going to fight that many? Someone next to him starts laughing, as that's not a new track, is a gazelle. He begins talking with Encrid, noting that the squad leader is kind of obnoxious. Isn't he? This is Henri, a member of the squad. Previously, he was a hunter in a mountain town, and he seemed to not care much about the squad leader. He struck up a conversation with Encrid, and they soon became acquaintances. Henry talked about the basics of hunting, which he found pretty useful. He notes that animals have separate paths they walk on in these fields. He will tell him more tomorrow. Because of the leader's incompetence, they spent the whole night searching for invisible news, and the scout squad's day was wasted. While trying to sleep, Encrid can hear Andrew bickering with himself, as he must get some results. Anything. The next morning they arrive at a grassy palace, which Andrew recognizes as Green Pearl, or the uselessly tall grass field, as he likes to call it. He tells everyone that they will cross this grass and find the enemy scouts, then bring them back as prisoners and be rewarded. Henry finds this idea kind of whack, since they are supposed to scout first, but Encrid notes that it's the leader's command, so they must follow it. As they trek this grassy land, Encrid is surprised that Andrew isn't bellyaching anymore, and is actually taking this mission seriously now. Henry finds it strange that there's no animal droppings in the area, because food is abundant around here. There should have been at least a few. That's when a large feline creates a loud step and rushes past them. Encrid gets what's going on and grabs Andrew while telling everyone to stay down, and sure enough, arrows start flying, killing 2 squad members on the spot. Andrew finally gets that the enemy is attacking and orders everyone to run, which they do, but they are slowly picked off one by one without much of a fight, and Encrid is the last one left, completely surrounded. By using Jackson's listening technique, Encrid is able to get quite far from the ambushers and even dodge some arrows, but unfortunately for him, the enemy attacks from all directions, so he dies, while thinking that they must avoid this spot. He tries to tell everyone not to go in there, but Andrew calls him a crazy bastard, and threatens to beat him up if he keeps talking crap. Since nobody will listen, perhaps he has to make his way out of this place alone. With that in mind, he tries to run in a different direction at the moment of the attack, but the enemies still get him. Since Encrid has the power to repeat on his side, he doesn't worry, and keeps trying and trying. One time he got caught in the open by 20 crossbowmen who put him down like a rabid dog. Then after that, a squad of spearmen impaled him without mercy. Even when he managed to make it to the knight, these bastards wouldn't stop searching for him. But this allowed him to notice that their uniforms are green. They must be a squad specializing in ambushes. He surprisingly makes it out of the bush and into a large camp, where he sees something that shocks him right before getting stabbed from behind. But he doesn't even care. Now he has some critical information. The day repeats again, and Andrew says the same words that scrape Encrid's ears. They will go in, find the scouting party, and capture them alive to be amply rewarded. They have already tried that a few dozen times, and once they go in, the result is the same every time. Nobody makes it out alive. He now knows that the Aspen fuckers are hiding something in that camp. He needs to find out what that is, but if he gives that thing up, he will not have to die. Perhaps this may be the end of all of this, but he knows one thing, that he will not run away from this wall. Nothing can stop him. Andrew tells him to get a move on, and one of the members says that he knows this bastard is a problem, but they should just go with it, as he is sure that Andrew has issues of his own to worry about. Encrid asks why he has to put up with that. There's a limit to how much bullshit he can take from a dumbass. Isn't he tired of taking orders from a child? Or is he perhaps kissing his ass so much in hopes of getting something? Before the guy can get mad, Encrid pushes him away, making Andrew ask if he is disobeying his direct orders. Encrid says that it's nothing like that. He's going to become the commander from now on, whether they like it or not. Even if he doesn't like Andrew, he knows that from everyone. He survives the longest alongside that guy and Henry. That guy especially fights like a beast, fitting of his appearance. He is the most skilled one in this squad, but he doesn't scoff at Andrew at all, so he has to be some bodyguard for him. Andrew draws his sword and says that he can take command only if he beats him, so he better get ready. Encrid knows that a normal soldier would not have something like a bodyguard, and Andrew seems pretty trained, considering his posture. He has little experience too, given his skill level, so he must be some lord's son or something. However, that doesn't really click, as the son of a lord wouldn't have to be worried about getting results. Perhaps he's a fallen noble. Andrew notes that based on his pathetic skills yet strangely high rank, he must be some sore loser who only trains in hopes of getting paid. He is different than he is, and he has an important mission to fulfill. Before he can say anything else, Encrid says that he talks too much, so he should come here already, as he won't even use a sword to make it fair. Encrid did this because he would struggle against Andrew if this was a normal fight, but now he is obviously mad and looking down on him. This action will give him the opportunity to take over the situation instantly, and use it to craft a new future. With one blow, Andrew is on the ground, much to the surprise of the others. Encrid says that he is the commander now, and he hopes that they won't have a problem with that, because he won't care anyway. Nobody says anything, not even the bodyguard, so Encrid has completed his first step. Later that day, they go through the bush like usual, with one of the soldiers wondering what Encrid is thinking. Suddenly, he asks Henry what his dream is, who says that he wants to marry a beautiful woman who runs a flower shop. Encrid notes that to do that, he must survive today. He asks another soldier what his dream is, who says that his lover just had a baby, so he hopes to raise it together. Encrid tells him that if he doesn't want that child to grow up without a dad, he needs to make it out alive. He asks the other two soldiers the same thing, with one saying that he wants to open up his own business, and the other simply wishing to return home. Finally, he gets to Andrew, who wants to fulfill his mother's dying wish, to revive House Gardner. Encrid feels like all of their responses are the same, as they all must live in order to fulfill them. He turns around to face them, and puts his entire sincerity into these next words. They will make it out of here alive. He did this because he needs these guys to trust him, and there is nothing more motivating than remaining alive. So with the enemy appearing soon, he plans to break through first. He suddenly orders Henry to shoot an arrow in that direction, who sees nothing, but Encrid commands him to do it. So he does and hits a soldier square in the head. Everyone is surprised to see enemies around here. Encrid tells Andrew to follow him while rushing in, who does so with annoyance in his face. But Encrid is doing this to gain the upper hand in this battle, and be the ambushers. The soldiers react quickly to Encrid, but Andrew silences one, and his bodyguard protects him from behind. With these two fighters, they are able to cut a few people down, so now the 12 original ambushers have been cut down to 8. The rest are ready enough to charge in after the sacrifices of their comrades, but Encrid does not falter in his command, and commands everyone to kill everyone. With them having the upper hand, they are able to cut most of the soldiers down to size. The enemy is having a hard time locating them in a tall grass field like this one, but the main reason they were discovered first was because of this beast, an animal who was caught in human squabbles, a sign of death before, but now he is a boon, as Encrid is using it to locate the enemies. He knows that the only reason the enemy failed to spot their ambush is because of this animal, so since he has a debt to pay to it, he will make sure that it gets out of here alive. The others announce that they are done with the enemy, and Encrid tells them that they will move immediately. There is no time to waste. The beast follows him from behind a bit, until it notices that it will be left alone. Unbeknownst to it, this oversized cat has changed everyone's lives, and allowed fate to change. After a single casualty, Encrid's unit now has 6 people remaining. He would have liked to save everyone, but he knows that it's impossible given the situation. He's just glad that so many survived. They move in to ambush yet another ambush, all thanks to Encrid's repetitions, which allowed him to know the quantity and location of these groups. He knows that if they keep going straight, they will get shot down by the crossbowmen, so he takes a far right to avoid them and disposes of the spearmen who were after them, something that must be done quickly, as they cannot be hindered. They are using hit-and-run tactics and low blows in order to survive. Even if it's not honorable, it sure does work. After taking the spearmen down, Andrew's bodyguard notices that he's overexerting himself, and since it's getting dark, they must find the exit now. He tells Encrid all of this, who only says that they are going further inside. He will also not accept any disagreements. They must obey and follow him. Suddenly, the bodyguard puts his blade at Encrid's neck and says that he should act accordingly. He has no plans to follow him to his damnation. Even if he has to kill him and desert him, he will find a way to live. Encrid notes that he must also know that it's too late to turn back. After the commotion they made, their retreat will be blocked by swarms of enemies. The bodyguard asks what the alternative is. Follow him into the pits of hell? Encrid pushes his sword away and says that he would like to make one thing clear. He wants to survive just as much as they do, probably even more considering what he did. Andrew previously thought that this guy would be some useless bastard, just like his father, who gave up on life and wasted the entire wealth of the house to drink his sorrows away. But he is not like that. He reminds him of someone else. He remembers his mother's dying words. Their house is finished, but even so, she hoped that he would become a person who could lead everyone, so he should earn people's trust by becoming a leader and rebuild this family. Encrid is like the person he always wanted to be, so when he says with such confidence in his eyes that they will get out of there, he has no choice but to follow him until they see the end. The bodyguard tries to change his mind, but Andrew says that Encrid is now the captain, and a squad always follows their leader. With that out of the way, he tells everyone to crouch down and follow him until he gives another signal. The first step of the method to escape from this place is to take initiative and ambush the enemy to break the encirclement. They did that, so now for the second step, they have to be quiet. This is the critical point Encrid has found after many repetitions. Only at this exact time, and at this exact place, can they let the legions of soldiers pass them and come out of it alive. Everything is going according to plan. So now, Encrid has reached the final step. When the sun sets, darkness rises, and the reason they failed to escape this place is clear. They eventually arrive at the enemy camp, where Encrid wanted to be. The soldiers of Aspen are so adamant about protecting the field because they are hiding something in here that they don't want anyone to know about, something that is life and death to them. So, what would happen when something more important than catching them happened? If that happens, they will definitely find a way out of here and live to see another day. Encrid tells everyone that he will set the enemy camp on fire, which the bodyguard thinks is insane, as they are literally in the middle and will probably be surrounded and killed. Encrid asks for his name, which he says is Mac, so Encrid tells him that he won't tolerate his disobedience anymore. He tries to say something, but Andrew tells him to be quiet, which surprises Mac quite a bit. However, he knows too that they can't do anything else but follow the commander, as the clouds are covering the moon already. Encrid suddenly cuts a tent open, making Mac get ready for battle, but it's revealed that there's nobody inside, and Encrid moves like he knows what's going to happen, since he is rushing through the enemy camp like crazy. Mac is more confused by the fact that they have not seen a single enemy yet. How is something like this possible when they are in their own camp? Encrid suddenly tells them to wait as they get near the middle, as there are some soldiers nearby. He has infiltrated this camp at least a dozen times or so already, but when he noticed that flag and tried to touch it, the entire base suddenly shifted their attention to him and killed him. He explains to everyone that what the other soldiers in the grass field are trying to protect is that flag. That is their main objective here. So what would happen if that flag were to suddenly light a flame? Max still doesn't get how Encrid knows all of this stuff, but that's when he remembers the ferry company commander, as she was the one who appointed him to this position. The reason why this guy suddenly took control of the squad and infiltrated it was to complete a secret mission that was given to him. Encrid tells everyone that while they cause chaos, they will also run and split into groups of 2 from now on. One group will be the bait, and the other will start the fire. Thinking he knows everything, Mac volunteers to be in the bait group, confusing Encrid, as just moments before he was quite defiant, although this is better for him anyway. He has dragged this squad into this encampment many times already, but has never had this many people, meaning that today is his best try yet, and can probably do it. With that, they begin with Mac throwing a rock at a guard and running away, making the others rush to grab him as quickly as possible. With this opportunity, Encrid grabs a nearby torch and rushes to light the flag, but that's when a large brutish man stands above him and strikes his torch down. Encrid is shocked, as he did not hear him coming. This is a person he has not seen yet. He is not one of his variables. Where did such a beast come from? The brutish man calls him a rat, but Encrid tells him that he's too late already, as the torch made it to a nearby tent, which caught fire quickly. This sends all of the soldiers into a panic, and they all rush to grab some water while some are still after the intruders. Mac has baited away most of the enemies, and he got the attention of the rest, meaning that Andrew has done his job and set fire to the rest of the tents. Now it's time to get out of here. He smashes his foot into the ground and propels his whole body forward towards the unknowing brute. Encrid can finally see his way out of here. He can see tomorrow. Unfortunately for him, in a split second, the brute dodges his attack and lands one of his own, slashing Encrid's side. He thinks that this was the most perfect stab he could have ever mustered, yet he didn't even make a dent in this bastard. He cannot beat him. He can't do it with his current level. He barely managed to get out of that brown hell. He was ambushed there and killed 1,000 times. He thought that he had finally passed the wall for tomorrow, but perhaps this guy was the real wall all along. If he challenges him, only death will await him. Then he will have to do all of this again, and hope that everything goes right as it did today. Suddenly, the brute's expression becomes furious, as he has seen that his opponent is laughing. Encrid refuses to give up just because of this, and fully believes that he's going to beat this guy. He has passed countless trials and tribulations before. A simple brute will not be enough to stop him. Encrid attempts to attack the brute, who expertly parries his attack and uses this opportunity to unleash a heavy lunge, something that Encrid barely dodges. But he does not stop there, as he uses his momentum to swing at his neck before making the sword land on him again. Encrid does manage to block the sword, but he can't believe how swift and precise this guy is. He tries to mitigate this difference in skill by throwing a knife after clashing once again, but the brute easily blocks it with the back of his hand and goes in with a powerful thrust. That's when someone screams that the fire is spreading, making the brute's attack go to Encrid's ear, as he turns to look behind and sees their precious flag aflame. Someone starts screaming at the brute to stop fighting, as this situation demands his attention too. The brute can see that his opponent will not go down without fighting, so he relents, and says that they will certainly see each other again. Encrid can't believe that he's backing away so easily. Perhaps he was not the true wall he thought he was before. That's not true, however. He is still someone he will have to overcome. He must improve if he wants to survive. That's when Andrew comes around and says that they have to leave now, while they still can. The brute gives Encrid one last stare, making him sheath his weapon and command everyone to retreat. They do just that, and Encrid notices that one of them has disappeared, meaning that there are only 5 left in the squad. The bodyguard asks if this is it, or will their enemies send another pursuit team after them. Encrid notes that they are busy right now, and notices that Henry is lagging behind, while some grave Aspen soldiers charge them. The squad refuses to let one of their comrades die while they are there, so they all charge the enemies and take care of them before they do the same to them. Encrid tells everyone to keep running, and Henry notes that it will be harder for those guys to follow them if they run towards the fox and snake field, making the one carrying him ask if that does not also apply to them, but Henry knows a hunter's path that not many know about. With that path, they easily evade the enemy, but they still have to trek the entire field, which, with the help of Henri, is a pretty easy task. After a while, Encrid finally sees what he has fought for the next day. They continue running until they get to the camp, where most of them fall to the ground. Encrid takes a deep breath and enjoys the fresh air of a new day. At that moment, Grey Dog's company commander asks what happened to the flag, but the mysterious figure only says that they must prepare again, and that he did not expect the Grey Dog to fail like this. The commander does not understand how this happened. The soldiers stationed in the tall grass were Grey Dog's best men, but a few measly scouts managed to get past them and set a fire before escaping. Grey Dog is an independent company with independent operational control. The name of this company comes from the Grey Dog that resides within Aspen's principalities. It has a persistent temperament, and it has a need to connect with whatever target it decides to hunt. Whether the beast is in love with its target or wants to maul their flesh slowly, the result is the same. Therefore, this company, which is named after this hound, is also called the Persistent Lovers. The commander asks Mitch Hurrier, the one Encrid fought with, if his opponent was really that strong. Mitch says that were it not for the fire, he would have killed him. Grey Dog notes that he got lucky, which is also a powerful skill. From now on, I will call him Grey Dog, because he is the commander of the company, so he deserves to be called by the company's name, and it's easier than saying every time the commander. But Mitch vows to not let him slip away again. While tending to his wounds, Encrid is still conflicted, as he did not pass the wall in front of him. He wanted to keep fighting that guy, but the situation demanded something else from him. That's when fate connects these two, as Mitch promises to kill that guy, and Encrid vows to overcome this wall no matter what. While Rem is swinging his axe out of boredom in the tent, he wonders what Encrid is doing, as there is no news of him as of late. He suddenly stops, and wonders if that bastard died. He got a lot better in a lot of ways recently, but he's still a weakling, so his dying wouldn't be that shocking. However, he actually likes this bastard, something that does not happen often, though at the end of the day, there's nothing they can do if he really dies. Ragna slowly awakes from his deep slumber and is met straight with Rem looking at him, making him ask why he's doing that. Rem just flips him off, which causes Ragna to do the same, except with his toes. Rem gets angry at his provocation, and notes that he might just kill him after all, which makes Ragna draw his blade, while calling him a crazy bastard. The first thing Encrid does after getting back to camp is report to the ferry commander, who is amazed that he managed to figure out there was an enemy ambush waiting for them, infiltrate the enemy base, and also casually burn it to the ground while surrounded. He says that he only made it out because of his good decision-making and sheer luck, but the ferry commander seems quite suspicious about that. She cannot act on her suspicion, however, so she just sends him back and tells him to recover. She previously only half hoped he would do something, but she didn't expect him to prove that he's such a valuable asset. Just who is he? While leaving and wondering what that woman is thinking, Encrid is stopped by Andrew, who sincerely apologizes for acting out at the start of their mission. They are all alive thanks to him. Will they be able to meet again, though? Encrid can't answer that for certain, so he just says that they will meet, but only if fate allows it. Before he leaves fully, Andrew takes one step forward and bows deeply, something that all of them do. Encrid knows that he did good. Those 4 that are bowing now are alive thanks to his decisions. But was that really the best he could do? In the end, he still lost 2 squad members, and perhaps he could have saved them too if he were stronger. Because of his repetitions, he is able to climb over his limits, and eventually he will be done with this desperate struggle and follow the path he always wanted, becoming a knight. He will use these repetitions for that cause, and to prevent them, he will get stronger. Suddenly, his deep thinking is interrupted by a bunch of soldiers screaming about a fight, and sure enough, Ragna and Rem are at it again, with both of them looking like they really want to kill each other, even if they are squad mates. Encrid never saw those kinds of expressions out of them, not in the countless times he sparred with them at least. One of the soldiers resembles them as animals at this point, and Encrid realizes that they just never had to go that far against him. This squabble gave him a goal though, to make them make these kinds of faces with him too. After deflecting Rem's attack, Ragna notices Encrid in public, and Rem tells him that he should report when he's back. Why is he hiding like a rat in a sack of corn? Encrid passes over their questions about his health and starts asking Rem about the way he blocked the attack just now, which makes Rem note that not even a few minutes in, he's already up to his antics. He better just get some sleep. Next, he tries to ask Ragna about his attack, but Ragna asks if he's really going to do this now. Encrid asks why that's wrong, but Ragna just shuts up and leaves. Encrid is quite confused by his attitude, as it seems he had something to say, but if there's a guy who will speak his mind no matter what, it's him, so he will say it eventually. The battalion commander swiftly learned of the enemy forces trying to ambush near the grass field, so he moved an entire battalion closer to it. Encrid's wounds healed significantly, and he constantly reflected on the way he fought. While having dinner, Encrid finishes first, making his squad mates ask if he can't just rest a little. He says that he will just train for a bit, making Rem note that if he continues to mess up his body like that, he will croak soon. The next day, Ragna wakes up earlier than usual, because he is awoken by Encrid's training outside. He slowly gets up, and drags his sword along while thinking about some things. He's very good with the sword, as getting stronger isn't that difficult for him. He even had a chance to become a knight at one point. However, all of that bores him to death. There is nothing he wants to do as a knight, so why would he spend his time and sweat on it? He cannot find a single purpose behind getting stronger, so he loses his own purpose. Just like that, he came to a standstill, never improving, never falling off. He arrives at Encrid's training spot, where his injuries get the better of him, which makes him fall to the ground. Ragna can see just from this that he learned his fundamentals wrong, which are a must if he wants a proper start to getting stronger. With all of the shortcuts he made up for his awful fundamentals, becoming powerful for this guy is impossible, even with training. However, he still has one question for him. Why is he putting his body through such hardship and trying hard like that? He decided to ask him now, why does he do this? Encrid's answer is simple. He just wants to become stronger. Ragna then asks what he will do after that, and Encrid answers swiftly again. He will become a knight. Ragna feels like a knight is just someone who knows how to fight. Does that really have meaning to him? Encrid explains that the knight he aspires to be is someone who decides for himself what is wrong and raises his sword for it, for honor, for the sick and downtrodden, and for the ones he cherishes most. Ragna begins questioning himself because of his words, as strength really is just a tool. What is a knight then? Or better yet, what is a sword? What does he want out of this short life of his? Well, pondering it like this is dumb, so he will just walk that path himself. He gets closer to Encrid, and he comes to him with a proposition. Would he like to learn the way of the sword? Encrid immediately accepts Ragna's offer, who thinks that he shouldn't have proposed such a thing, because he feels lazy about it already. Still, that determined look on this guy's face might prove quite interesting. He notes that he knows Rem taught him the something of the beast, right? That, and his stab. He must get rid of everything, except those two things. Encrid asks if he also has to get rid of the Valen mercenary technique, which Ragna confirms he really has to get rid of in particular. If he doesn't, even if he does learn a new technique, he will return to his habits, which is just human nature after all. If that happens, he should just give up now, so it's time to choose. Either forget everything and begin anew, or remain complacent in his mediocrity. Encrid immediately chooses to start fresh, which surprises Ragna, and he asks if he's sure. Encrid just asks what he must do first, which makes Ragna think that he's not normal at all. He explains that he has a good sword technique, so he does not need to have a lighter blade like he does now. He would profit a lot more from a longsword, so they should swap. Encrid asks if handing his sword over is okay, but Ragna doesn't care. It's not that special anyway. He begins instructing him on how to wield it, and notices that he's clenching quite tightly. Encrid explains that he does it so he doesn't lose the sword, making him wonder who taught him such a thing. Encrid says that Rem did, which doesn't surprise Ragna at all, but he orders him in position and starts attacking him with full force, making Encrid have to block and see why clenching so tightly is such a bad idea. Ragna notes that it should hurt if he does that. If he stiffens up, things are going to break. He's like an old branch or something like that. Encrid wonders why all of these squad members are awful talkers. Just what is that metaphor supposed to mean? Is he perhaps saying that he's too stiff because of how much he's clenching the sword? He probably wants him to stay flexible to keep the sword from breaking, so he needs to become more malleable. With that, he begins his training in earnest, with Ragna instructing him again and again when he spots an issue. This goes on for a while, until Encrid falls and allows Ragna to think. He did not expect for things to be this bad. This guy doesn't even know the basics, which is not something that can be taught so easily. Still, Encrid refuses to give up. He slowly rises and asks Ragna to go again. Ragna can't deny his conviction and notes that they should take things slow. Baby steps are the best after all. That's when Rem arrives, and asks what they are doing here, skipping meals and disappearing like that. He asks Encrid if Ragna is giving him a hard time. Does he want him to deal with him? Encrid asks what's going on, as he's not usually dressed up. Rem tells them that they are being called, as the enemy forces are gathering in the distance. Every soldier gets ready and in position, but Ragnar wonders if teaching Encrid those things was a mistake, as he's still new and can't fight well with them. He just might die because of that, meaning that he will unfortunately have to look after him. Encrid really wanted to learn more from Ragnar. In the distance, a familiar flag flies, as the enemy approaches, and the warlock notes that this is the end for them. As soon as he says that, the entire area is covered in a mysterious and heavy fog, making people unable to see each other. That's when they all hear a certain sharp noise coming towards them, and only Encrid recognizes that they are arrows, so he tells everyone as such. But some do not have the opportunity to defend. The ferry commander realizes this is no common fog. They have been completely had. The warlock laughs in their faces, as getting this spell ready was a hassle. He had to offer the blood of tons of animals, and collect the cleanest water from the purest lakes, while also constantly casting rain spells. Once they activated this spell, it obscured all vision, and unless they get under the casting point of the spell, that being the flags, this will be a one-sided battle. This is called the Fog of Annihilation. Mitch comes next to him and sees that he's quite satisfied, which the warlock confirms. He barely managed to get this working, especially after they lost a flag. This makes Mitch think about his opponent. He has to find him and teach him a lesson in manners. Encrid dodges the incoming arrows the best he can, and someone behind him warns him to keep his head down, which he recognizes as Ragnar. The one in front of him cursing out the enemy is definitely Rem. Even if he's so close, he can't see him, meaning that they cannot fight like this at all. Only when an arrow falls right next to him does he realize that his breath is getting strained, and he is getting stiff, and his legs are refusing to move, meaning that he cannot use anything that Ragnar taught him. He didn't expect to get all of his lessons on the first try, and even Ragnar said that he should go back to his old style, since he doesn't have this new style down and will make a lot of mistakes. Even then, Encrid knew that only death awaited him if he tried, so he had to resort to some more drastic measures. He rushes through the fog, allowing an enemy to impale him with a spear. The enemy thinks that this guy is over with, but he is spooked when he sees the determined smile on his face, and finishes him off quickly, allowing Encrid to go back to his teachings. If he's honest, Ragnar is not a good teacher, because he is a genius. Things are more obvious for him, and they are hard to put into words. Even now he wonders what he did wrong, as all he commanded him to do was swing downward. Encrid knows that he's not making fun of him. He's just like that, and asks where he should center his gravity. Ragnar doesn't know how to answer, something that Encrid expected. His explanations are quite lacking, but observing and listening are his strong suits, so he will remember his stance, no matter how many times it takes. He eventually arrives back in the fight, and can deflect arrows, but he is still too stiff, and chooses to let himself die once again, so that he can continue learning. He does that until the 31st day, where he becomes capable of flexible movement. Ragnar notes that his steps have become quite fluid. Where has he learned that? Anyway, with that he should be able to learn the basics. The 3 basic attacks are cutting, stabbing, and slashing. He should use the edge of the blade for defense, and if the sword is of good quality, he can use the sides too. The shortest distance between him and his opponent is called the line of attack, so using the sword is about blocking his opponent's line while extending his. He should draw his opponent in his head the best he can, and reach out to him with the sword. The next time he goes into battle, he can easily dodge the enemy's spear that was always ending him, too easily. Unfortunately for him, 3 more await him behind, but it's fine, as little by little, he is starting to change the usual today. He successfully learns how to parry, and dies again. He also successfully learns the diagonal slash. These things add a little bit more at a time, and even if he dies, he doesn't care, as his progress is steady. This time, when he fights Ragnar seriously, he is able to use all that he learned to successfully defeat Ragnar, who sees an entirely different person in Encrid, because he has truly changed. With this, he thinks that he can't improve anymore with his talent, and despite Ragnar's screaming, he still charges in. His body, swift and easy as a feather, is able to dodge the enemy. This is the road he must take in order to become a knight, and even if he experiences the most pain anyone has felt, he feels gladness and joy. This is so fun that he could go insane from it. He goes back once again, to the time when Ragnar asked him if he wanted to learn the sword. He immediately agrees that, like he did all of these times, he will die as many times as it takes for him to achieve his goal. After testing him a bit, Ragnar realizes that he's good. Too good, in fact. Has he been fighting like a second-rate mercenary on purpose up until now? He's got all the basics down. To him, it seems like he needs more experience in the field, rather than more training. With those words in mind, Encrid goes through today tons of times. Must be over 200 by now. And now, he tries to use everything, to see where the techniques he learned will take him. He slashes through the first enemy like butter. He grabs the knife that killed him so many times, and uses it to attack the hidden enemies in the front, who are all confused. Encrid disappears for a bit, making the enemy think that they are safe until he comes around and starts slashing them up. One of them tries to shoot him with the crossbow, but Encrid has learned from Ragna that he should use his eyes to predict, his feet to move closer, and his hands to end the fight. Encrid can only smile, as things are much different. Fighting feels fresh and swift, compared to when he didn't know anything. He wants more, so he moves forward with great anticipation. He is met with a dozen or so men pointing their crossbows at him. One of them congratulates him for making it this far, but this is where he will stop. Encrid takes a step forward and says that they should fight things out with their swords like men do. The enemies become scared of him, and so they shoot him down before he can do anything. Suddenly, he is dragged into the realm of the boatman, who calls him foolish. As he has walked into his own grave, he must have lost his mind because of all the deaths he has suffered. Encrid wakes up again, wondering why the boatman appeared, just to curse him out for dying so many times. Rem asks why he has such a blank stare on his face, making Encrid think about him. He is the first one to call out the spell whenever it happens, and the enemy formation lacks any tact. They are only there to protect the flags. To find out, he asks Rem if he knows anything about spells. Rem asks why he would like to know, and Encrid excuses it as just making conversation. Rem asks if he even knows the difference between magic and spells, but Encrid only knows that magic is more common, which is true. Rem explains that a spell requires some type of medium, something that is very important in casting spells. They cannot exist without a medium, not like magic does. Encrid finally gets it. The fog appears because of the spell that uses the flag as a medium, so when the flag breaks, the fog disperses too. He asks Rem if his tribe uses spells too, which Rem has seen a few times, but there are not many actual spellcasters around. Most of them are hexcasters, warlocks as they are commonly called. Encrid suddenly leaves, as he has somewhere to go, to train. Ragna notices that he knows all the basics. They have the same background, but does he know of the Oniak sword technique? About 500 or so years ago, there was a prodigy, a 1 in a million talent. The child, born on a sword farm, killed 12 bandits that attacked the farm, with nothing but a fireplace poker. Having lost his parents at an early age, he began learning the sword, and a noble, having heard the rumors of his actions, took him in. That prodigy's name was Leonesis Oniak. However, even if he was gifted, he was also cursed. He began losing his strength at just 10 years old, and by 12, he was fully paralyzed. Just like that, a prodigy destined for greatness was lost to history. However, his dream of improving swordsmanship did not falter, so at the age of 20, he compiled all of the sword techniques and categorized them into 5 categories: the righteous elaborate sword, the heavy strong sword, the flowing confounding sword, the fast swift sword, and the gentle parrying sword. He rewrote the entire history of the blade, and with this, the Oniak family became the greatest house of the empire, and even today, his technique is used as a foundation for all swordsmanship. Even so, branches of these techniques began to appear, like the Western swift sword, or the Eastern chi sword. Among these, the technique he personally developed branches from the Northern heavy sword, and should be more useful than whatever Rem taught him. He should concentrate on one single point, forget everything around him, and only focus on his and the enemy's sword. He will show it to him first, so that he can learn from it. Before Encrid can react, Ragna lets out a slash so swift and deadly that it cuts his neck. He knows that he nearly died, and that's when Rem comes around, asking Ragna if he wants to kill the squad leader. Ragna notes that people learn better while almost dying. He's just helping him out. Rem notes that he can't learn shit if he doesn't have a head. Does he even know how long it took for him to teach him the heart of the beast? While they argue, Encrid thinks that both of them are awful teachers, and Rem knows that Ragna is from the far north, which breeds more barbaric people. Ragna also knows that he's from the southern barbarian tribes, which makes him want to fight him now. But Encrid tells him to stop, as he's here because they were ordered to come, right? Before he leaves, Ragna tells Encrid to remember how alert he is when he's about to die. If he succeeds in concentrating on a single point, he will be able to do anything with the sword. As they get ready for battle, Encrid thinks that this technique is quite similar to the beast heart that makes him numb to death, though there are some different key points. He needs to experience it to learn it, and as for the medium of the spell, he will just have to get rid of it and escape. With that, he adds another objective besides learning. He will destroy that flag. He knows that if he used his squad it would be easy to get there, but he will go forward first until he knows that he cannot any longer. Concentrating on a single point proves to be useful, as he died a lot of times because of how unprepared he was. To survive the assassin ambush, he trained his ears. To survive the battlefield, he learned the heart of the beast, but concentrating is proving to be difficult. Ragna tries to teach him again by just showing him. He should have felt the tip of the blade slow down or something along those lines. Encrid still doesn't get it. Is the heart of the beast interfering with this? Ragna explains that everything else should fade besides his opponent's blade, which will give him the ability to predict the path of the sword. Encrid knows that channeling his fear of death isn't the way to do it, so he asks Ragna how he did it. He notes that he could always do it. It's just easy for him. Encrid knows that he won't get any good information from Ragna, so he will just have to figure it out on his own. He will keep practicing this concentration, but his first priority now is knocking that damn flag down. He should minimize casualties and charge in. When the fog drops, he screams at everyone to drop down, and then orders them to shield, saving the lives of those who would have just died before. He has repeated this today 300 times already. He knows where the attacks come from even with his eyes closed. He slays the first enemy without him even knowing he was there, and the second too. The others charge in, but they are all going into the meat grinder, as Encrid is now determined to achieve something. Their commander tells them to rally and prepare for the attack, making Encrid smile as he can see fear on their faces. He charges in so hard that he goes through any blade and smashes the flag down. It took him 10 days to get here, but he finally succeeded. However, the fog doesn't disappear, which is strange, as the flag is done for. The enemies circle and stab him all around, with one of them noting that he has been deceived. This gives Encrid enough information. There is only one real flag, the rest are fakes, so he must find the real flag. He charges in once again, as he has a 1 in 5 chance to get it right. He orders everyone to shield themselves, who cannot hear him, or rather are too confused to, allowing the arrows to pass through and slay them. Encrid wonders why they aren't listening this time. Perhaps it's timing. He has to let them catch their breath. After another 3 days, he broke the second flag, which was a fake, meaning that he had 4 more to go. He spent another 5 days for the third flag, which was a fake. It took him 7 days to get to the fourth one, which was also a fake, so he died again. There are only 2 left, and he can only guess, but the real one is most likely the one furthest from the battle. Now, he orders everyone well, and even makes Rem follow him, who asks if he's out of his mind. Encrid knows that the flag is far away, so he can't get exhausted before getting to it. He lets Rem handle the enemies in the front, as he slides past them. Even if unarmored, Rem can handle them pretty well. He has spent an entire year in this today, but now he will end it, as the fog will disappear, and they will win. Suddenly his sword is deflected by Mitch, who notes that God listened to him. He really prayed that he would get the chance to kill him with his hands. Encrid has forgotten this face after so long, and asks Mitch who he is. He cannot believe that he forgot about him when only a few days have passed, but time doesn't work like that for Encrid. Encrid once again asks who he is, which Mitch is annoyed by, but he will remember once he feels his cold blade in his chest. Encrid decisively dodges the incoming blade, and with his new footing, performs an attack that forces Mitch to back away suddenly. He is surprised, as this doesn't seem like the same person he saw before. He's gotten better with the blade, much better. However, he cannot believe this guy is trying to catch him with a single step. Encrid doesn't stop there and moves forward again, this time clashing blades with Mitch, who is amazed by his mastered basics and sword technique. Combined with how he deflects attacks, he's a force to be reckoned with. He pushes Encrid back, who deflects his blade, making Mitch think that he must focus all of his senses on this battle. If he gets distracted for a single moment, he will die. He must pour himself into the blade. The flag shall be forgotten, the outcome of the battle, even the sword techniques he has learned so far. Everything around him fades, leaving only the cold steel of the sword. With this amount of dedication, Mitch gains the advantage by deflecting Encrid's blade, allowing him to impale Encrid through the chest, ending the fight right there and then. Now, Encrid remembers him. He was the guy who blocked the flagpole in the tall grass region. Mitch introduces himself as the Greyhound Squad platoon commander, and Encrid does the same. He's the Naulilia Kingdom's squad commander. The enemies gather around him, as Mitch says that this guy's specialty is hiding, but the others consider him quite wistful. When Mitch looks at Encrid to check, he sees that he has a smile on his face. This is because Encrid realized something. It's not the concentration that comes from the fear of dying that is necessary. What he always needed was a good rival, an opponent who would force him to use everything and fight him with all he's got. Mitch has no time for crazy bastards, and pulls his blade out, ending this today. The next today, Ragna tells him concentration on a single point is similar to the sensation he feels as he's dying, which Encrid kind of listens to, making Ragna wonder if he's given up on his training. Rem as usual calls them to battle, which makes Encrid immediately radiate energy and walk away, with Ragna seeing this energy for himself. Because of it, he thinks that he should go a little harder during the warm-up today. The battle continues as per usual, with Encrid saving lives by telling everyone to duck and shield, just as the arrows come flying through. He doesn't stop there, however, as he tells Rem to follow, and before he can ask if he's insane, Ragna says that he's coming with, making Rem ask if he got an arrow to the head. Ragna tells him to move forward if he doesn't want one right now, and as Encrid inches himself further and further away, both guys butcher the enemy in front of them, trying to make way. Encrid takes the same path as he did before, and meets Mitch just like before. Only this time he recognizes him and says that it's so very nice to see him. Mitch is surprised that he came specifically looking for him, but Encrid says that he shouldn't be. He came because he fell in love the first time they fought. Mitch notes that this is the first time someone has come looking for him specifically, with Encrid wondering if he's upset. But Mitch prepares his blade and denies such things. Encrid tries to enter the same state of concentration as Mitch, where he can only feel the blade, but he is once again defeated with a blade through the chest. Mitch notes that he lost pretty easily. Did he really think he would win with only those skills? As Encrid slowly dies, he thinks that his attitude is all wrong. What he's trying to achieve cannot be intentional. He must be absorbed into the fight naturally. He repeats today, and he is defeated. He does it again and again. He will continue to do it until he has grasped the feeling. The 18th time, he can see the blade coming his way. The 28th time, he can enter a state of concentration at a moment's notice. And the 48th time, he reaches a revelation. When Ragna tries to teach him that feeling, Encrid finally sees the blade for what it truly is, and he becomes lost in its beauty, allowing him to deflect Ragna's attack with ease. He asks how he was able to assimilate what he told him so easily, but Encrid isn't even hearing him now. Pure concentration means completely controlling both body and sword. His power and technique have developed so much that he cannot compare them to his past self. Ragna asks where he's going, and Encrid notes he's just going to meet the platoon commander. It's time for him to overcome today. When he reaches the ferry commander, she asks what he wants. So Encrid reveals that he remembers seeing spells during their recon mission. The Aspen soldiers were calling a creepy old man the spellcaster. The ferry commander is intrigued and asks him to elaborate further. Encrid told her everything that they might need to win this battle. So when the fog comes now, the soldiers are prepared to block the arrows, and Encrid's team charges in without words. He has put his hope in the commander's competence, as he has a mission to overcome this next obstacle. Encrid immediately says that he recognizes him. He wanted to fight him from the very beginning, and today, he shall defeat him no matter what. Encrid lets out a powerful strike, but Mitch sidesteps and rushes in with a slash, which Encrid expertly deflects. Mitch knows that he's in a precarious situation, and can barely block Encrid's next strike, and they continue clashing blades until they arrive at a standstill. Mitch feels obligated to ask, was he hiding his skills all of this time? Encrid notes that it appears to be so, making Mitch ask for his name, which Encrid tells him. In that moment, Mitch deflects his blade and says that he will remember his name, but Encrid notes that there won't be a need for that. He will make sure he always knows it. As Mitch raises his sword high into the air, Encrid becomes concentrated on the blade, and combined with the fact that he has all of his weight on his right foot, he predicts that he will slash diagonally, and he's right. The techniques he has learned from all the todays, the battle experience he gained through these repetitions, it all culminates here. As Mitch strikes, Encrid does the same, and they both nip each other's necks. But Encrid doesn't stop and makes his slash go towards Mitch's neck, who can barely dodge. He was sure that he would kill him in a few movements, but he's actually struggling against this bastard, and that's something he will not accept. Since his flowing sword techniques are more suited for parrying, he needs to attack properly, so he will use the best technique he has. He hilts himself into the ground and rushes the blade from the bottom, which will create a huge arc. That's why this technique is called the wheel cut. Encrid already knows of this ultimate technique. He has experienced it firsthand countless times, and he was always struck down because of it. But this time, he is ready and parries the attack perfectly. Mitch is shocked to say the least, even if his face does not show it. The Hurriers, which Mitch belongs to, are one of the three main houses that reign over the Aspen Kingdom, and House Hurrier represents brute force, meaning that they will recruit anyone who shows talent for the sword. Mitch was also recruited from a regional house, and after adopting the Hurrier name, he proved himself with his skills, and fought off 2 adult knights at the age of 15. He won against a champion swordsman at the age of 18, and by 22, he was the strongest champion of the entire city. He then went on to be among the top 3 best fighters in the Greyhounds, through sheer skill alone. Only few could ever match his talents, and even those didn't want to try their luck. As he saw others training, he wondered to himself, why do they do so until failure? Why must they swing a sword until their hands bleed? He did not see any point in training, as his entire body was pure skill, and this was the mistake that got him here. Without any way to swing his body in any way but backwards, Encrid easily punctures his chest and pulls his blade out, making Mitch start to bleed heavily. He damns himself for underestimating him, and says that he's not as good as him when it comes to strength or sword technique, which Encrid confirms. But yet, he was still the one who won. Mitch can't refute that, and in his last moments, he can only regret his past of complacency. Who knows what he would have become if he trained? The moment Encrid's sword reaches his neck, Greyhound jumps in to save Mitch, who is still bleeding heavily. but he is swiftly escorted out of the battlefield by one of the men. Greyhound notes that he did not expect a single man to cause this much of a mess, but as punishment, he will not have an easy death. Encrid already knew that, since he's surrounded by enemies, but he is also not deterred. This only means that breaking the flag and finding an exit is the next wall that he must overcome. Greyhound tells everyone to fire, and Encrid is prepared for the worst. He charges in through the arrows as he cannot avoid all of the attacks, so he will take them while continuing to advance. Greyhound isn't there just for decoration, however, and strikes Encrid, who can feel how heavy his strikes are just from this. So to win this fight, he will have to die numerous times, but the objective for now is to destroy the flag and get out of here. With that in mind, he throws a knife at the flag, as even if slightly damaged, the spell will stop working. Greyhound sees what he's trying to do and slashes at him, but Encrid rolls away and throws another dagger, this time hitting it expertly. In the fog, the fairy commando holds her ground, yet her mind is set on the fact that she asked command for more troops, yet she didn't receive anything. This kingdom is as rotten as ever. They sent the weakest men to command the lines. At this rate, slowly, they will be wiped out. That's when the fog dissipates, allowing her to move more swiftly than ever and take care of the enemy with ease. She recognizes this as a chance to turn the tide of battle, so she rallies everyone to attack, which works, as they all scream and shout while charging. With the fog gone, they have a better chance, but who destroyed that spell? Perhaps it was the one who told her about it, Encrid. All bloodied and spent, Encrid knows that he messed up, as he thought that he would run into his team after the fog went, but he cannot spot a single friendly, and even he has a limit. Rem is taking care of hundreds of men, but he is actually aiming for the spellcaster, as he wants to have his head. At the same time, Ragna got completely lost, and is aiming his sword at one of the commanders, only now realizing the mistake he made. The enemies mock Encrid, as he's trudging along like a dog, and he will die like one too. Just before one of them strikes him down, the puma from the grass fields attacks the soldier, and just as the enemy is about to unleash a flurry of arrows, it cuts all of their crossbows to make them useless. The puma seems adamant in protecting Encrid, but he tells it to leave, as the man in front of them is quite special. Greyhound has had enough of this, and is ready to strike him down, but that's when Vengeance shows up, and tells Encrid to rest easy, as he's about to show him what a real man looks like. He lunges at Greyhound, who immediately deflects his blade and throws him on his ass, making Vengeance fold and order his men to shoot at him. Greyhound isn't fazed at all by the arrows and charges forward, allowing the puma to charge in from behind with its claws bare. Greyhound is caught by surprise, but he manages to hit the beast with the hilt of his blade, rendering it unconscious. The next strike is aimed at Encrid, who can still see the blade, but since he cannot parry his attack with the strength he has now, it means that he will have to use a technique Mitch liked, and let the blade flow. He does the exact same thing, which surprises Greyhound, as he recognizes Mitch's technique that he just used, and Encrid is more ecstatic than ever. Vengeance surprisingly rushes in again, but Greyhound does not counterattack, as he sees the army of men coming in his direction. He reluctantly backs away, but not before telling Encrid that he will not soon forget his dirty face, and promises to take him down one day. He orders his men to retreat, allowing Vengeance to focus on Encrid's well-being and get him out of there. But Encrid brings the puma along too, even if his strength is waning second by second. Vengeance orders everyone to retreat, and Encrid slowly loses consciousness, the tiredness and bleeding catching up to him in the end. In his dreams, he sees the boatman once again. Did he accomplish his objective again? He is truly a persistent bastard, but what drives him so? In the end, even if in this state, Encrid has survived another today. Encrid slowly wakes up as the others around him talk about his state. Some wonder how he managed to do it. Others know that he went off without any warning, and one of them prays for his swift recovery. As Encrid gets a feel of his hands, he feels something fuzzy, and when he looks, the puma who saved him is now cuddling with him. Rem asks if he's finally awake. They all thought he was going to bite the dust. Encrid slowly gets up and asks what's going on, and Jackson gets up to hand him some water, while explaining that he lost quite a bit of blood. Crace goes on to say that thankfully, the medic healed him enough so that there won't be any lasting effects. The goddess of luck must truly be on his side. As Encrid looks at the puma he just dropped a little water on, he notes that he must have passed out during their retreat out of the battlefield. Everyone slowly leaves since they saw their commander awake, and Encrid is happy to see that he survived another day. Rem, however, does not leave, and stares at Encrid, who thinks that he's interested in the puma, so he asks if he would like to pet him or something. Rem doesn't care about that beast. What he wants to know is how did he know that the fog was a spell? Encrid is conflicted, as Rem will not believe him if he tells him about his ability. So must he really lie to him? He doesn't want to. Rem has been a faithful friend, so he would like to return that trust in kind. He explains that in the past, he was friends with a settler, and he suspected it was so based on what he heard from that guy. Encrid thinks that this excuse is perfect, since he really did hear it from a settler, that being Rem. He gets up, as it's fine if he doesn't want to tell him, but he shouldn't get into spells that much. As he leaves, Encrid questions him about what he was doing during the fight, with Rem telling him that he was going to have a chat with the bastard who set up the flags, but he really didn't like his face, so he sent his head flying. While Encrid thinks of Rem doing that, Crace tries to bribe the puma with some beef jerky, but it's having none of it and it snaps at him. Encrid tells him to be careful. This little guy might just rip him to shreds if pushed enough. Crace doesn't care, as he really wants that 10,000 krona. He heard from that Henry guy that because this beast has blue eyes, it's a lake puma, and they hold the energy of the land inside of them. Each of its claws is supposed to be worth about 10,000 krona, and they keep growing new ones. Encrid is pretty amazed. A single bronze coin is worth 1 krona, so 10,000 must be like a gold coin, more than what he has paid, that's for sure. After he passed out, they dominated the battlefield, but the battle itself came to a standstill, and both sides chose to retreat. Since then, nobody has made a move. They are all recovering from their wounds after all. While his mind is racing, he wonders if the parry he did back then would succeed if he tried doing it again. Perhaps he will never know. Jackson comes around later and tells him to stop stretching. He will not heal if he keeps his muscles moving. Encrid feels that he's not overdoing it, so he can move at least a little. Ragna agrees with Jackson. The most he can do now is stretch like that. He should get some sleep and recover faster. Rem comes around and bumps into Ragna, asking if he's trying to spread his laziness to their commander too. And by the way, standing in the walkway like that is a dumbass move. Ragna immediately goes to fetch his sword so that they can have a fight, which prompts Encrid to ask something about it. He managed to actually use a technique he had never practiced before. He only saw. Is that a normal thing? Rem feels that it is. If he was using the heart of the beast, he could actually sense what the enemy was doing, so he would be able to understand how they swing their sword and how much strength to use. Ragna also agrees that it should be easier since he learned the basics. He also succeeded with single-point concentration, so he must have seen more than in the past. However, he actually got pretty lucky, as at his level, something like that will succeed after 100 real battles. Encrid now understands. The day that has just passed wasn't a single day for him. It was hundreds of days of overwhelming struggle. He got stronger through his hard work and determination, not just through memorizing patterns as such. No matter how much talent he has, he can get stronger, and he will. While Ragna and Rem butt heads, Encrid asks them both for a duel. Rem notes that most people call him a madman, but that title should be given to him, while Ragna asks how he hopes to duel in his condition. Suddenly, the ferry commander appears, who says that duels are not to be participated in while he's in such a bad condition. She also asks if he was the person who broke the spell. Encrid knew that someone would come and ask him that question, but why the company chief commander? He says that it was indeed him. He saw it while on patrol and also knew a little about it from previous encounters. The ferry commander is surprised. There were 5 decoys. How did he find the real one? Encrid notes that he just guessed, which makes the ferry commander stare at him for a bit, but she turns away and takes that as the truth. Encrid asks if this is all she came to ask, but the ferry commander explains that she also came to see his face, as it seems that fate has brought them together. Encrid has no clue what she's talking about, but Rem and Ragna think that they are together or something, with Ragna surprised that he has those types of skills. Encrid tells them that it's not like that, but Crace also comes around and notes that he's the perfect guy to start a host bar with. He will make the terms favorable for him. Encrid tells him to shut up, but he also wonders why she said that. She's their boss, so this is really uncomfortable. Crace also has some news for him. A squire from the Knight Order has arrived. Encrid is surprised. Someone from the Scarlet Cloak Knight Order is here. The battalion he is a part of is named the Cypress Division, which was named after a knight, and that Cypress is a part of the Scarlet Cloak Knight Order. The knights are people who are extremely skilled, which is true even across the entire continent. That is why a Knight Order has a lot more people besides the main knights. They have squires, servants, and students. Once a squire has proved himself to his knight, they become a proto-knight, and far above that, there are the knights, who have surpassed their human limit. Squires do not fight often without their knight, so this squire is probably about to become a proto-knight. Suddenly, the bells ring, and everyone gets ready for battle. Crace thinks that they were probably waiting for this guy if they are heading to battle right now, and Rem tells Encrid to get some rest. He really does need it. Encrid is not bothered by his wounds. He wants to see that guy in action. He wants to compare himself to him. Rem sees the glow in his eyes, and tells him to come with if he wants to see him so much. It's not like they are going to do much anyway. Everyone gets lined up for battle shortly afterwards, but Encrid is most excited. He will finally see a small piece of his dream. He can finally see what it takes to become a knight. The squire walks alone to their enemies, who immediately get into position to fire their arrows at him, but he does not flinch even once, and walks steadfast. The enemy commander tells them to fire, making hundreds if not thousands of arrows fly towards the squire, who waits until they are close enough. After that, he crouches down and gathers wind at his feet, which Ragna recognizes as determination. After charging enough, the squire sprints through the arrows and arrives directly at the enemy's front line. It's filled with shields and spears. But the squire is not stopped, as with one strike, he takes out that entire front line and sends his enemies flying. Encrid is astounded, but also frightened. Even the commander doesn't know what to say, but he has nothing to say, as the squire starts cleaving through them left and right without mercy. Everyone starts to retreat at the sight. They will not needlessly sacrifice their lives, but the commander tells them to hold the line, before his head gets chopped off cleanly. As the squire stands on the head of the commander's horse, everyone has different opinions about him. Rem is not surprised by how skilled he is. They are called war specialists for a reason, right? Ragna feels that he should be able to at least hold the line against him, and Jackson notices that the enemy had at least 5 chances to stop his advance. The enemy commander was a fool. Krace is only glad that this will be over without them needing to do much, but Encrid starts to ponder heavily. Is he using the righteous sword? But that's not it. It has elements of the heavy and swift sword in it too. The righteous sword is a just and intricate technique that lures the opponent into the user's moves. The heavy sword is, like the name suggests, a heavy sword technique. It uses strength to cut through everything and dominate no matter what. The confounding sword is the most confusing technique, as it tricks the opponent and allows easy ambushes. The Valen sword is a subsidiary of this technique. The swift sword is the fastest sword technique. It overwhelms the opponent with sheer speed. The flowing sword is a soft and gentle technique. It parries the opponent's attacks and retaliation in kind. Encrid can see both heavy and swift swords in that squire. They are both vying for control. He breathes in and regathers his thoughts. Even if different in character, all techniques started from a single source. If one is to understand the resemblance between all 5 techniques and wield the sword like it is a living, breathing object, perhaps then they will be able to do this too. He closes his eyes as the army charges in, with Rem and Ragna noticing that their squad leader is meditating. Rem smiles and tells them that the squad leader is about to overcome something, so they will allow nobody to disturb him. Encrid knows that nothing changed, despite his understanding. Understanding is nothing. It is only a wall, something that exists only to show how much he has to climb. Soldiers fly past him into battle, but Encrid does not move. Instead, he climbs the obstacle inside of his mind, and he will do it to the very top. As the screaming and wailing of the fight rages on, Encrid continues to climb. As their soldiers continue to push the enemy, Encrid continues to climb. As the soldiers scream out in victory, Encrid has finished his climb. He knows that this war is coming to an end, so the following seasons will be quite busy. In the Principality of Aspen, which is controlled by the 3 main families, Aspen, the sovereign, damns the empire, as they broke the gentleman's agreement to not bring in any knights. Grey Wolf, who is actually named Hurrier the Almighty, and Atkins, the administrator, are also present. Atkins explains that they used the frog general they sent out as an excuse, and since the frogs do require a knightly response, they have no excuse either. Aspen damns that bastard of a frog who did as he pleased, but Atkins notes that it was to be expected. Frogs generally do what they want, no matter their excuse or motive. However, this would have not happened if the spell they wasted resources on had succeeded. Aspen becomes enraged at the Greyhounds. They must pay for this insubordination. Hurrier knows that this will not end well for them at all. After such a lengthy war, the Aspen forces headed back, and so did Encrid and his team. They all went to Border Guard, which is the kingdom's remote fortress city. Because it's close to Aspen, this place is heavily militarized, with 1 in 5 people being a soldier. A ceremony is held, praising everyone for their will and determination, which has brought them this victory. They will also reward the common soldiers who have proven themselves most useful, be it on the battlefield or out. The first one to be called out is Encrid, as he destroyed that foul spell of the Aspens, so he shall be rewarded. Everyone starts mocking him as he climbs the podium. They call him weak, and think that he did something with the commander to get this reward. Suddenly, someone from behind the trash talkers tells them to shut up, with another familiar face telling them to not talk down to that person. To them, Encrid is much more than that. He is a true man. Encrid receives quite a hefty sum of cash, which makes Krace immediately ask what he's going to do with it. Perhaps he will spend it on drinks, or women, or perhaps both. Encrid notes that he wants a good store, more specifically, the best blacksmith in the entire city. Krace walks with him all the way to the smithy, wondering how he can spend all that money on a damn sword. If he doesn't like the standard issue one, he can just pick one out from the battlefield and be done with it. He does that too, and they work fine. Encrid does not mind him. To become a knight, he needs to prove himself. More specifically, he must prove his skills. He is going to take the soldier promotion exam, as it's about time he ditches the life of a lowly foot soldier. Krace thought he wasn't interested in things like promotions, but Encrid feels that he can't stay in one place forever. Crais understands, but they must get stuff set up first. Narilla has a soldier ranking system in order to increase morale, with those stronger than the scale being considered special grades. A person is also treated differently based on their rank. To be promoted, one must have a duel with 3 of the soldiers in the rank that he is after, and win. For the soldiers that are just spectating, this is just a fun sport involving betting, which naturally Crais is the expert of, and incentivizes everyone to come and bet. The first soldier Encrid has to face is arrogant. What is a low-rank scum like him trying to achieve by going for medium rank? He won an award based on the squad's actions, and now he thinks he's some hotshot. Encrid knows this guy. Even if arrogant, he is skilled and hails from a famous mercenary group. The betting box Crais has is filled with bets on the other side, while there is only a single bronze coin on Encrid's side, prompting the gamblers to wonder who put that coin there. Crais notes that they won't know until the results come in, so they should sit down as the match is starting. Encrid only got stronger by dying over and over, but in this fight, there is no risk of death, so he only has one shot. He steels himself. He will look ahead and not lose focus, which is a pathetic skill, but it's the limit of his hard work. He knows that in the past, he wouldn't have stood a chance against someone like this, but he will not be conceited either. He will fight like his life is on the line. The arrogant full charge in with his sword aimed high. Encrid thinking that he will try to do the parry he learned in the previous battle. Perhaps he can win if he does it. Surprisingly enough, however, Encrid blows the sword out of the arrogant bastard's hands away in a single stroke, who is more scared about his fingers. Encrid doesn't know what to say, so he just ends the fight by hitting the bastard with the butt of his sword. He wonders why this guy is so weak, and a gambler is mad at Crais, as he probably was the one who bet on his commander, right? Because he knew how strong he was? Crais actually is shocked too. He only put that bronze coin in there because he took pity on him. Encrid wonders if that guy just let his guard down, but even if he did, the duel ended too quickly. He shouldn't be so weak if he's a medium rank. He doesn't have time to think about that, as his next opponent arrives, who tells him to not get cocky just because he won one duel. Encrid knows this guy too. He is heavy infantry, the strongest in their battalion. The heavy soldier starts by trying to distract Encrid by waving the tip of his spear around, but then he only thrusts forward, allowing Encrid to just cut the tip of his spear, rendering it useless. He thinks that this is just a trick. This guy must have something else lined up. Judging by his face, however, it seems that this really is just it. Encrid kicks him in the gut, ending another fight. Everyone is shocked that he won 2 fights in a row, and Crais calls forward the next challenger. Who wants to duel him? Nobody wants to budge. Not even those who trash talk to him. Andrew thinks that he can win since he trained with Mac every night since they last met, but Mac tells him to not go, as he's gotten too strong. Not even he has a chance to beat him. With that information, Andrew sits down and observes the situation. Suddenly, someone pushes the main trash talk to go. That's someone being Rem, who has heard everything he said up until now. To prove he's not scared, the trash talker agrees to go, even though he's sweating bullets. Encrid only felt struggle up until now, so that is why he did not notice. That stabbing bastard in the first today he suffered through, and the assassin in the next one. Combined with Mitch Hurrier, and even the squad members he trains with daily, he just had it rough until now. He knows that his old teacher told him to not underestimate his opponent, which he felt was irrelevant to him, as he never thought there would be a time when he could look down on someone. The trash talker asks what's with his face, but Encrid is only happy. He has become strong enough to dominate his opponent. He charges in with his sword, hitting heavily. In Narilla, strength is the most respected thing, so using this bastard, he will prove to everyone he is strong. He breaks his sword after a few hits, and then stops before slashing him apart, proving himself for good. The trash talker pissed himself too, and now everyone recognizes Encrid as the Spellbreaker. He really destroyed that flag. Suddenly, Andrew gets up and starts chanting Spellbreaker, while also forcing the others to do it. The eyes that were looking down upon him now admire his strength, as they all chant his title, the Spellbreaker. Crais congratulates him, as now he's medium rank, but Encrid feels it's too early for any celebration. He has to get to high rank first. Crais is surprised that he's still going to climb, and that's when someone stands up, noting how interesting he is. The others around him notice the eagle patch on his clothes. He's a border guard, the ones directly serving the crown. He is called the Border Butcher, and he earned that title too. He approaches Encrid and notes that he would like to duel him too, just a friendly one, nothing too special. While everyone is watching, Rem knows that this is going to be difficult for Encrid, who knows that the border guard is equal in strength to Aspen's greyhounds, meaning that he might actually be stronger than Hurrier. However, this also makes him wonder what will even happen if he fights someone without the risk of dying. Will he improve? He invites the man to come, who is amazed that he's not more fearful about going against someone from the Special Forces. After watching his fights, He's far more interesting than expected. The low-ranked soldiers cheer Encrid on now, repeating the same thing. The true kings of battle are in the infantry. The man thinks they are a bunch of idiots, as the border guard is infantry too. And cockiness like this is not healthy. He must humble them right now by using the gentleman in front of him. Even if his attack is swift, Encrid can see his blade and manages to deflect it. The man is surprised to see such concentration from a foot soldier and grabs him, thinking that with this, he has nothing left to do. Encrid, however, grabs his hand, allowing him to rush with his sword from above. The man knows that he will meet death if he's hit by something like that, so he finds the chance to dodge the attack and retaliate in kind with a deadly strike of his own. Unfortunately for him, Encrid is prepared, so he catches the tip of his blade and kicks him in the gut. He has let go of his sword for this, making the man rush in for a final encounter. Encrid pulls out a small blade and strikes at the same angle. Victory is inches away for them both, but that's when the ferry commander appears, and with one swift strike, blocks their attacks. Encrid sees that his crew was already behind the man. They aren't just about to let their leader die after all. Rem notes that he's quite the lucky bastard, but the man says that this is only a duel. If they get excited like this again, they will have to be punished. Encrid cares more about what happened in the fight, as he lost sight of his movements and almost lost. But who knows what would have happened if they fought until death. The man sheaths his sword and tells Encrid that he did not expect much, but he cannot just not recognize his strength now. He is called Torres, and he is the platoon commander of the border guards. Encrid also introduces himself as he accepts the handshake, but every spectator is shocked, as the platoon commanders are special rank soldiers, meaning that Encrid is at least a high-rank soldier. Everyone celebrates this fight, but Encrid really pays them no mind, which Torres likes. He has a feeling that they will see each other again soon enough, so this is goodbye for now. With this, Encrid feels one step closer towards his real objective. That same day, Graham, the first company commander of the heavy armored infantry, invites him to their company. This is the third time Encrid has been invited. First it was the second, and then the third company, perhaps because he broke that spell. Graham explains that his company is an important element of this battalion. He knows that this offer is pretty important, right? Encrid knows that he will be among the elites as soon as he accepts, but he refuses, which makes Graham ask if it's about the fourth company commander. He will talk with him if need be. Encrid tells him that it's not that, and since he has such a sincere face, he will not press him any further. Encrid suggests that he send Rem his way, but nobody wants that crazy bastard in their team. Thanks to him, they survived the last battle, so he should keep at it. Crace is amazed that he's getting so many offers. Should he begin packing his bags or something? Encrid tells him that he's not going, but this only makes Crace wonder why he's rejecting every offer. Right now he will get treated well, no matter where he goes. Before Encrid can answer, Torres comes inside, wanting to ask something important of Encrid. He should come to the border guards. Encrid knows that this is an amazing offer, even better than the first company, and Rem feels the same. He would be a fool if he would reject this offer. Torres has realized as soon as they fought that he yearns for a tougher fight. If he comes with them, he will make him train and challenge his body to its limits. His coming to the border guards means that he will realize his full potential. Everyone on his team is resigned to their fate, and so Encrid opens his mouth. If he's talking about a hellish place to train in, there's no other place like this. Encrid does not simply want to reach his full potential. He wants to overcome it, little by little. The seasons change, which is unfortunate for Rem, who, despite being from a tribe, hates the cold so much he wishes he could fight it. He tells Encrid to get him some hot stones immediately, but this only makes him think of how useless this guy is while not in battle. Auden tries to get him to warm up his body by moving and training, but Rem refuses to get rid of his blankie, making Auden ask Encrid if he would like to train, as he will surely thaw his frozen muscles. Encrid excuses himself, as he's on patrol duty right now, so he gets out of the cabin, but not before Rem screams at him to get some hot stones. Encrid is also surprised by how the season changed. At first it got a little chilly, but now it's fully winter. He goes to a populated area, where he meets with the other guards to patrol, a thing they do because of the lack of fighting. The two introduce themselves from left to right. They are Jack and Bo. Today they will be working as a team. Encrid feels something peculiar about these people, like he has heard their names before, but he lets it go for now. Jack feels honored to be on duty with the Spellbreaker, and Bo heard that he got promoted really quickly. To be able to go from the lowest to one of the higher ranks is amazing, but Encrid says that he only got lucky. Jack wants to see how strong he actually is, so he invites him to a duel, which Encrid accepts. After a while of walking, Jack feels that someone cursed him to have to go on patrol in this weather, with Bo agreeing that it's pretty cold. But Encrid does not get why they are so close to him. As they continue their walk through the market, a small hooded figure appears out of the shadows. and suddenly slips towards Encrid. He tries to grab the person, thinking that they are just a kid, but the hooded man suddenly pulls a dagger and stabs it directly in Encrid's chest before he can ever react. Jack and Bo play it out like he's drunk or something, hiding him from the crowd directly. These three are working together. The hooded person asks if he's surprised, but he should know, the Greyhounds never forget a target. Encrid can see that this is a half-fairy, probably an assassin sent by Aspen for breaking the spell. The assassin pulls out his knife brutally, leaving him to die, and Jack tells Rotten to get out of here, as their mission is a success. Encrid remembers them now. They were the wounded recon soldiers, according to Crace. He said that they were hurt a lot, but now he can see that it was an excuse to make contact with Aspen. In this situation, he's 4 against 1, and he will conquer it. Now though, he falls to the ground, bleeding out from his wound and dying on the spot. He wakes up once again, violently getting out of bed, which confuses Rem, but Encrid only wanted to get up with more energy. He swiftly goes outside, where he finds Auden bathing himself in cold water, causing steam to come out of his toned body. Encrid asks about his training method to heat up the body, which Auden confirms exists. It's something essential in wintertime. It also allows a person to be ready for anything, which is a bonus. With this in mind, Encrid asks to be taught it, as he saw Rotten pull the dagger out, but he could not react, because his body was not prepared at all. He also should have noticed how Jack and Bo kept really close. He will probably take those two guys out first, but that half-fairy might do something unexpected. Auden cheers him on. His muscles will be really sad if he can't keep this position. Jack and Bo introduce themselves, Encrid going through the same introduction, but now Jack is more impressed that he doesn't have his coat on, which Encrid excuses by simply saying that he's training. His body is now prepared thanks to Auden's rigorous training. He knows that soon he will come face to face with Rotten, so before he can get too close, he attempts to smack the ones behind him, but Bo dodges, allowing him time to unsheath his sword. Encrid knows that Rotten will either run or attack. Before anything happens, he has to take care of these two. Unfortunately for him, Rotten has another card up his sleeve, as he throws a knife in his direction, hitting Encrid in his vitals. He, however, is impressed to be able to hit him at this distance, and through so much crowd, he has skills. He cannot deny that. Encrid heard it, but it already pierced his heart by the time he heard it. It's designed to be faster than sound. In this situation, he must face close and ranged enemies all at once, which quite excites him. How will he prepare for this? Rotten stabs when he is close, and throws the daggers when he is far. This wall that he must conquer is not really a hard one to understand. It's actually quite simple. Encrid continues his training, although he feels like he's going to die, making Ragna and Rem wonder if it's really as hard as he says it is. Jackson comes into the cabin, only to see all of them spread out and stretching, even the panther. He feels like he walked into something he shouldn't have, so he decides to leave. Encrid knows that he has to find a way to block the dagger that will be thrown at him. Its speed and accuracy, however, is something much deadlier than normal daggers. Jackson comes around and recognizes this as a whistling dagger, but Encrid is curious. Why is it called that? Jackson explains that it makes a sound when it's thrown, and if handled by an expert, the target will not even know what hit them, so it's good to stay far away from these things. Encrid has gained a bit of knowledge from this, but no matter how good Rotten is with his daggers, he cannot do anything if he blocks ahead of time. He attacks the ones behind him again, Bo dodging again, but this time Encrid grabs him and uses his body as a shield against the daggers. Unfortunately, Rotten doesn't seem to care about his teammates, as he throws one dagger into Encrid, one into Bo, and another straight into Jack's neck. Encrid is amazed that he was able to throw 3 at a time, but to kill his own people. Perhaps he never thought of them as such in the first place. Rotten crouches down to his level, impressed by his determination, but persistent lovers like the Greyhounds never forget their target. Encrid says that thankfully they do not, which makes Rotten believe that he's a crazy bastard. Encrid has underestimated this whole thing. Even if simple, this wall is still a wall after all. The boatman knows that he is enjoying this, but he should laugh while he still can, as soon he will realize why this is all a curse. Encrid wakes up and swiftly gets out of bed again, thinking that this is actually a blessing in disguise. He goes to Jackson and asks about the whistle dagger, who wonders where this question even came from, but Encrid wants an explanation of them. Jackson relents and tells him that it's basically multiple thin blades pressed into one, which causes that whistle sound when it flies. At one point, it was called the dagger that can only be heard, as it's really difficult to follow with the human eye. Encrid asks what would happen if he wanted to dodge it, but Jackson says that he can't. Encrid asks what if he had to, which makes Jackson ask in turn, does he really have to? Encrid confirms as much, making Jackson ponder where the hell he even heard about all this. He explains that there's not really a point in seeing an already thrown dagger. He has to watch the hand of the thrower first. as the path it takes is dictated at the moment it's thrown. There are naturally ways to hide that throw, but a skilled eye can still spot them. Encrid asks if he could learn something like that, but with his current skills, Jackson notes that he won't really be able to do anything. Encrid knows that he's just talking shit about him, but Jackson asks if he wants to be taught how to throw daggers. If he's not confident though, he can forget about it. Encrid knows that this is an opportunity, so he decides to learn. Later, he meets up with Jack and Bo, remembering what Jackson said to him. The moment he throws, he should relax his entire body and focus as the blade leaves his hand. Seeing and dodging it is basically the same. As soon as Rotten shows up, Encrid unsheathes his sword and instantly kills Jack, with Bo not offering much resistance either. Everyone around him runs away in a panic, allowing Encrid to focus on his real opponent. He can see him switch from relaxed to focused. He can avoid dying instantly if he protects his heart, so that's what he does. Encrid does manage to block the first dagger using his hand, but the second one goes directly in his chest. They are incredibly fast, and even if it was only for a split second, he saw it. In that split second, he saw the dagger come to him. Rotten approaches and prepares to say the same line, but Encrid already knows. Persistent lovers never forget their target. As Rotten wonders how he knows, Encrid is glad that he's getting better. A few more visits from this guy, and he will know all of his dirty little tricks. On the next day, Encrid eliminates the two behind him as quickly as possible, and then focuses solely on Rotten and how he rotates his dagger. He can see its trajectory now, so he blocks it with his arm guard. Rotten can feel the anxiety of his advance, and Encrid dodges to the side, thinking that the attack will come from the other direction, but Rotten swiftly changes its course and stabs him in the heart. He is amazed by the fact that he can adjust its course according to the enemy. This weapon, even if it took his life so many times, is absolutely incredible, and he wants to wield it. In his next life, he practices with daggers, Jackson asking what he's even doing, but Encrid only says that he's training with whistle daggers. He knows that what he has is not a real whistle dagger, but he will have one soon enough. A part of his homemade dagger breaks free, almost taking Jackson with it. On the 8th today, Encrid successfully dodges his delayed attack, but unfortunately, it seems that he has another problem. A sharpshooter eliminates him from behind, meaning that he must keep him in mind the next time. On the 9th day, he successfully takes him out with a dagger, but this only delays his death, as Rotten throws a dagger at him that he cannot dodge. Encrid continues to train until he can throw daggers pretty well, but he feels that besides the basics, he's missing something important. Jackson notes that he got everything down, but where did he learn to throw like this? Encrid can't say that he learned from him, so he lies. He saw someone throw one before and he just copied them. Jackson thinks that he must be a genius to do something like that, but no matter. Has he heard of the throwing blade technique? It was created by an assassin called Georg, and the name comes from his weapon, the whistle dagger. Georg strived to create a blade without sound, thus he created a very thin, single-bladed knife, but it was too difficult to handle, which led to the production of the whistle dagger they know today. Encrid didn't expect for the dagger to have such a story, but Jackson thought that he would already know about it, since his stance is perfectly suited for the whistle dagger throwing. On the 10th day, Encrid decides to change the route, which Jack is against, as they will be punished if they don't do their jobs well. Encrid says that he's the highest ranked person here, and since he will take responsibility, there's nothing to worry about. He can hear the two whispering about this change of plan, which they really don't like. Encrid knows that the market is the perfect stage for the assassins. He does not need to play along with their games anymore. Jack notes that they should really return, but Encrid asks what they got from betraying their land. A bunch of gold coins? This prompts the two to immediately jump in and attack, but Encrid easily strikes them down with 2 swift strokes of his blade. As soon as he's done with them, Rotten and the blue assassin arrive, which he feels is kind of late, but it's no matter. They should come with all they've got. Rotten throws 4 daggers at the same time, but it doesn't matter now because Encrid can see his hand. The blue assassin moves behind him to strike, but Encrid takes him out with a dagger. Rotten takes this as an opportunity and strikes while his back is still exposed, but Encrid blocks his dagger expertly. Even if it hurts him, it will not kill him again. Rotten is now frightened and asks who the hell he is, but Encrid feels that it's not for him to know. Anyhow, how many of these beautiful weapons does he have on his person? Rotten can see that this bastard can throw these things. Is he also an assassin? He answers Encrid's question, saying that he only has 2. He is quite jealous that he only has 1, but Rotten tells him to not joke around. He's really sick in the head. He should also know that as soon as he throws the one in his hand, he will die. Encrid understands, but they will find out only after the fact. Encrid can't see his hands, but can see his arm, so if he keeps his posture and his eyes ready, he can easily dodge those daggers. Encrid can immediately notice that Rotten is throwing 2 at once, so he swiftly dodges and throws one of his own. which only damages Rotten's cloak. Even if he said that he has two, Encrid knows that he probably has more, but so does he. Encrid throws his last dagger at Rotten, who can barely dodge, but is actually quite mad that he lied. He readies his blade, and so does Encrid, surprised to see this bastard actually pull a blade out. There's no rule teaching the assassins to only use long-ranged attacks, but his problem is that he doesn't recognize this attack, as it's low, and very fast. Unfortunately for Rotten, it doesn't matter anymore. He grabs his hand with extreme swiftness and announces that this is the end. With a chop to the forehead, he ends Rotten's miserable life. He has climbed over this wall with only 10 tries, fighting, losing, and getting stronger to eventually succeed. These things have come to give him alive. He looks at Rotten's body and opens his clothes, revealing a bandolier of knives that he really wants. He goes to report to the ferry commander about what just happened while wearing that same bandolier, saying that all of this was once again just mere coincidence. The ferry commander wonders if it's still a coincidence that he only got off with a scratch against 3 people, but Encrid says that the goddess of luck is really on his side. The ferry commander eyes him for a moment, before giving up and telling him to return to his post. He does just that and returns to his squad lodging, but as soon as he opens the door, an axe flies at his face, which he only has seconds to dodge. This was naturally thrown by Rem, who is glad to see that he dodged his sneak attack. Encrid asks if he has gone insane, but Rem was only training him, because he has assassins on his ass after all. As revenge, he suddenly gives Rem a hot stone and tells him to eat it. Rem believes that it's a potato at first, only for his hands to burn the moment he touches it. Encrid notices that his hair has grown pretty long, so he tells Crace to give him a haircut. He asks for 10 coppers. Encrid says 5, and they meet at 8. As Encrid gets said haircut, he tells Crace that he's charging more now. Does he not get a squad discount? Crace tells him to go to one in the city if he doesn't like the price, but Encrid refuses. The ones in the city suck after all. The snow continues to fall, and Crace notices how cold it is. Rem doesn't like the snow and cold at all, which Ragna agrees with. Auden believes it's a test from God, and Encrid wonders why they are all out here in the first place. He also thinks of how the assassins get into the border guard, and when exactly did they turn. He asks Kreis if he knows where Jack, Bo, and Rotten are from, who actually knows. Jack was forced to conscript after he was caught as a pickpocket, and Bo insulted a noble right in his face. Rem can't believe how fine these people were, and Encrid agrees. As for Rotten, he was from a failed merchant association, a mercenary by profession. They all joined in the past year. They must have been in a guild together. Encrid thinks about it. He can only deduce one thing from a guild that left its members a year ago. The Thieves Guild. It's a guild only in name, really, as in reality it's a place filled with thieves. A Thieves Guild member would know the entire city easily, so it makes sense. He asks Jackson if he knows anything about this Thieves Guild, who wonders why he asked him, but Encrid thought he might know. Jackson can't believe that he has become so brazen, but tells him that after the restructure, his contact with the guild has been cut off, so he doesn't know anymore. Kreis is finally done with his haircut. Encrid is only surprised by how much it's snowing, which makes Jackson say that he will be out in the city tonight. Rem knows that he's trying to get out of shoveling duty, which he will not let him do. Encrid sees this and tells them that they should go on a mission. If they agree, they won't have to shovel snow. Everyone immediately agrees, even Kreis, but Encrid still has to get permission from the company commander. Ragna calls him lazy for not even doing that, so they all retreat inside, patiently waiting for him to do it. Encrid tells the ferry commander that he believes the Thieves Guild is behind the assassins, and he wants to bust them while he can. They both look at each other, as the ferry commander feels something strange about this request. Is he sure that he's not doing this to skip snow duty? Encrid denies that fact, although he cannot believe how sharp this woman is. As the squad walks through the city, Kreis wonders where the Thieves Guild thing came from. He's probably talking about the Gilfin Guild, but does he even have any info on them? Encrid does not. That is why they are here to get it. He tells Jackson that they will wait at the inn while he finds out where they are. Jackson asks how he's supposed to do that, but Encrid tells him to figure it out. Kreis really doesn't like that order, as it's extremely vague, but Jackson understands, making Kreis believe that perhaps he is the weird one here. They arrive at an inn, where they all have a bunch of food. Kreis asks Encrid what he will do if the Gilfins are innocent, but Encrid doesn't really care. Even if not involved with those assassins, they are still criminals, and they need to get cleared out sooner rather than later. Kreis has already become acquainted with their server, Lesa, and whispers something in her ear. Encrid does not pay it much mind, but wonders where Jackson is, as he's late. Even though he has skills, he's starting with no real clues. He wonders if his orders were too vague, to the point that he feels bad for him. Jackson is propped up somewhere high, looking around and not moving at all, letting the snow fall on him. He suddenly notices 2 strange figures, which gives him an idea. Encrid asks Kreis if he knows that woman, and tells him that she's Lesa, her father is a shoemaker, and her dream is to open up an inn in the big capital. Encrid is surprised by how much he knows, but Grace only knows so much because she might be a valued customer. Jackson finally comes back, covered in snow and freezing, only to see everyone enjoying a warm meal while in a warm place. Encrid notices his annoyance and tells him to eat, but Jackson believes that they shouldn't wait and go right now. Rem doesn't want to, as it's cold outside, but Jackson asks if he wants a shower in his own blood. He promises it will be the warmest thing right now. Encrid agrees that they should go now, but the snow is quite immobilizing, so they need to be careful and leave when it stops snowing. Encrid looks out the window for a solid 5 seconds, and then says that it won't stop, so they should go. Grace asks if he didn't just say they will wait, but Encrid has been careful enough. As they walk through the slums, 2 beggars notice them and pull out their daggers, charging the group with murder in their eyes. Rem immediately turns to them with a smile and smashes one with his axe before smashing the other with his fist. Rem asks Jackson if these are his rat buddies, with Christ believing that they are from the Gilfin Guild. Jackson discovers the entrance to their hideout, but it seems to be locked. Auden tells him to move a little bit, as he will politely knock for them. He raises his fist up and knocks once, surprised to see that the door magically opened. Rem wonders what kind of knocking this is, but Encrid doesn't care, as long as the door is open. As they go in, Rem asks what he's going to ask them, but Encrid says that they should subdue them first, then they will have time to talk. They continue to approach the door, and those inside know that Encrid is coming. The leader knows that reporting their failure will be a pain, so they should take care of him themselves. One of them wonders if it's okay, as his squad is with him, but before the leader can say that they are a bunch of nobodies, Auden knocks again, but this time with his foot. Rem immediately rushes in to kill them all, but Encrid begins his speech. Those who have never killed the weak, those who can surrender, and those who do not wish to die, should throw down their weapons and cross this line. Everyone else will be killed. Rem asks why they aren't killing them now, but Encrid just wanted to look cool, and he believes that he is. The leader can't believe that a mere grunt dares to order them around, and Auden tells him that they are clouded by their demons. They will not listen until they force them to. Encrid resorts to using force then, and asks their strongest to come forwards. The leader wants this to happen, and tells their strongest swordsman Wyvern to go, who immediately pulls out his blade. He wonders if he can block his blade, as he has never been beaten, but as he talks, he suddenly charges in, only for Encrid to deflect his blade and stab Wyvern in the shoulder. This is something from the Valen mercenary sword technique, to stab while talking. This is what he was stuck at before, but he has overcome it by a lot. Encrid believes that he doesn't need to see anything else if this is their strongest. He will give them one last chance. Either they surrender or die. His squad looks at him unimpressed, all of them believing that he's just trying to act cool. One of them throws his weapon and surrenders, making the leader jump up and try to strike him. Before he can cut him down, however, Encrid throws a knife in his head, killing him instantly. Rem can't believe that he thought he was cool, while Auden does believe so, and Krace is amazed. Jackson thinks that he's not bad, while Ragna suffers from cringe, like Rem. Encrid knows that he must have looked pretty cool, but this makes all the thieves surrender and fall to their knees. Rem wonders what they should do. It would be better to kill them now, since they might become trouble again. One of them begs them not to kill them. There are people here with sick mothers and poor families. Encrid believes that it doesn't excuse their crimes, so the man says that if he has to kill someone, he should kill him, as he is Gilfin. Encrid is surprised, so he was the boss, and not that brute right there? Gilfin denies it. That man was indeed the boss, but he also isn't Gilfin. He is. Encrid is confused beyond his wits, so Krace explains that they named the guild after random people on purpose. If they start getting chased by the law, they can ditch that person and run. Gilfin explains that their boss was a bastard, a real rotten-to-the-core individual, but the rest are not like that. Again, if he wishes for blood, he can have his. Everyone around him begins to try and defend him, as Gilfin is kind, and some of them even ask to be killed in his place. Rem can't believe that Encrid would kill them when they are like this. He did not take him to be such a devil. Encrid tells him to shut it. He was the one who suggested they kill them in the first place. Gilfin tells them about the guild fortune. They can have everything in that stash if they let them live. Christ begins to smile, as he knows there's some cold, hard coins involved. Gilfin points it to them, but they need to find the key first. Auden proves them otherwise by gently pulling the door open, and so Encrid tells his squad to take as much as they want. Rem immediately finds some thermal leather, which is extremely warm, but Ragna wonders if it's that important. Encrid also finds a piece of flexible yet strong leather armor, which is not bad at all for him. Krace gets his attention, and says that they should take over this guild. Encrid asks if he's really asking for him to become a thief, which Krace is, but one that does not kill. Even if they were to take down this guild, Within like a week or two, another will pop out in its place. So if things are like this, they should use this guy as a puppet to run it. Encrid feels that this is all far too convenient, so he asks what he told that girl, as it was strange for all these guild members to be gathered here. Christ is surprised that he noticed, although they got them all in one try. If he allows it, he will get him a monthly krona payment, and will also gather information. Encrid doesn't really do this for money, but it can't hurt. He allows it. So Christ tells Gilfin that from now on, their guild is one that does not kill. They will sort out the bad people and send them to prison, while they slowly reform this organization. Gilfin tells him that they will all die if they do not disband. Their boss worked for Aspen and took their money. Once every spring and fall, a frog comes to check on this organization, and if he realizes what happened, he will not just let them go, as the frogs are beasts. Christ tells him that they shouldn't worry. They have some beasts of their own after all. Encrid believes that they should go back since they have completed their objective, but Rem looks at him and wonders, are the others done with shoveling snow? Ragna also believes they have some unfinished business, and Auden wants to reflect and preach the word of God just a little bit longer. Jackson also believes that he had something to do, so he will return tomorrow morning. Encrid understands and apologizes. He did not see that they were all so busy. The next day Encrid reports the return of his squad, and also the fact that they have destroyed the Thieves Guild. The ferry commander asks if he had fun skipping shovel duty, but Encrid hasn't a clue about what she's saying. She has heard that he liked to duel, so they should spar right now. Encrid accepts, but as soon as he tries to unsheath his sword, he gets knocked down. The ferry commander tells him to get up, but when he tries to pick up his sword, she knocks him down again. Encrid is amazed by her sword's thinness. It's almost like a whip. This continues until Encrid is left out of breath, leaving the ferry commander confused. She has seen this man respond instantly, almost like he came from the future, but now, he acts like a grunt. She really does not know who he is, but it is still true that he broke that spell, and took down 4 assassins. She sees that it's snowing again, so she will be watching him, this time more diligently. Encrid believes that he's pathetic. He has trained so much with the sword, but he has never done anything with his bare hands. He has finally realized what he is lacking, something that requires the use of body and limbs, that thing being martial arts. He goes to Auden while he trains, who tells him that the most important basic of martial arts is a trained physique. Encrid looks at him as someone demands to know who pulled an entire tree out, but Auden says that he has a method of training that pushes the body to the extreme. It is called the isolation method, which will be very painful, to the point where he might as well be dead. Encrid tells him that this is his specialty, but after doing it for some time, his whole body feels like it's going to collapse. Auden tells him that the fundamental principle of the isolation technique is overloading. His muscles become stronger as they are being torn. Encrid can barely stay up, but Auden believes that he can do it for at least 10 seconds. He can see that this is his limit. He also asks if he does not regret starting sooner, as he needs to grow his body for quite some time before he can properly learn martial arts. Encrid does not have the time to regret. The past is the past, and now he is only thinking in the moment. If he was not, he wouldn't have ever made it past the first wall and probably gone crazy. He asks Auden to teach him something else while he does this, who is amazed by his diligence and work ethic. But that's why he respects him. Since he asked, however, he will return to the post, on all fours today. As he trains, the Panther watches him diligently, seeing the effort that he's putting in. Later that night, Encrid comes inside completely beat, making Rem wonder if someone is bullying him, but he was only just training. As he lays down, the Panther lays down with him, prompting Rem to say that he needs to give it a name already. Encrid tries to name the Panther Heather, or Blackie Blue, which the Panther absolutely hates. Rem understands it. Those names should be considered abuse. Encrid thought that Blackie Blue was cute, but he will have to think of a name since it's going to stay. After falling asleep, Encrid wakes up in a mystical realm, which makes him think of the ferryman, but this does not seem like his vibe. Suddenly a woman appears behind him and she only tells him one thing. Her name is Esther. Encrid wakes up from the dream only to have the same woman by his side in bed. She is naturally embarrassed, but Encrid only wishes her a good night and hugs her tighter. The next day everything is back to normal, and Rem asks if he's going again. Isn't his body feeling sore from yesterday? Encrid is actually feeling pretty light, but that's because Esther has used her magic on him. She needs this man to free her from her curse. She cannot have him die while he throws around his body. Rem asks if he met with the priest or something, but that's not it. Encrid says that he dreamt about some woman. Rem is surprised, as he didn't take him as someone who would dream of women. But how was she? Encrid thinks back, and says that she was pretty. Esther is glad that his eyes are working fine. It's common for magicians to explore magic and knowledge, and in her pursuit of those things, she got cursed and turned into a beast, her powers bound. She was wandering the fields one day, but she suddenly felt the scent of a curse, which led her to this guy. Encrid continues his training as Esther watches, but he notices her and accidentally calls her Blackie Blue, which she absolutely hates. The realm of magic is affected by the power of names, so if someone carelessly calls her by another name, her powers will get weaker and weaker. She used what little power she had left to tell him, but she made a mistake. She can only thank God that this guy is pretty dull, but she can see that he's under a curse. It is not set in yet, but it's far more powerful than what she is afflicted with. His is a curse that slowly eats away at weaker curses, so if she sits beside him, she will eventually recover her mystical powers. Encrid continues his training, now fighting Auden one-on-one, and even though he is able to dodge some attacks, most still hit him, proving Auden's blinding speed. He explains that for martial arts, his body must always be ready. Just like with swordsmanship, the training and techniques are all meaningless if he is not fast, and even though he's as fast as an old turtle, his body is changing. He also really doesn't want to quit, judging by his expression. Just like that, 1 month has passed. The green begins to sprout through the melting snow, and Encrid continues his training. He fights with Rem, who can't believe how much he has improved, but he is glad, as now he can finally have a proper fight with him. Later that evening, he invites Ragna to a training session, who says that he's still lacking in adaptability after it's done, but his fundamentals are top tier. His muscle memory should allow him to do this even in his sleep, but it will require endless repetition, which is not at all easy. Encrid tells him not to worry after catching his breath. Repetition is his specialty after all. After his training is done for the day, he retreats to his bed, where he thinks that all this training is great and all, but some real-life experience would also be pretty good. At that moment, he hears a rustle come from the left, so he immediately catches the knife that was coming for his neck. Jackson congratulates him for improving so much. He certainly won't die in an ambush anymore. Christ tells them to go outside if they want to train. They are kicking up all the dust in the cabin. Encrid asks why he's so early. Shouldn't he be out earning money right now? Esther gets out of bed with a purr, and Christ immediately moves in her spot to see if he can find a claw, as that's worth 10,000 krona. Someone suddenly knocks on the door. It's the ferry commander, who asks Encrid to come with her. He immediately says that the snow is gone, but she doesn't care about that. She has a new mission for him. He must take care of it on the mercenary soldier board. Encrid knows about this. It's a policy that runs alongside the soldier ranking system, allowing people in the cities to hire soldiers as mercenaries. It's a lot cheaper than normal mercenaries, and has better trained people who are more polite, so it's pretty popular. He wanted to test himself, so he has no reason not to accept. At the same time, a guard is going back to his bed, glad that he is off today for today. It has been straining on him since he has been doing it non-stop. He suddenly spots the ferry commander, and Encrid, who asks how many squad members he will have to take. She explains that there will be 3 in total, but he should only bring 1 squad member with him because she will be the 3rd. Encrid is surprised that she's actually coming to a mission herself. He wants to know why. The guard walking next to them knows about the rumors. Those two are often together. Perhaps they are even dating. He leans in closer only to hear the ferry commander ask if he's uncomfortable with them doing a mission together. This touches the guard's heart, and more rumors start to spread because of him. These rumors escalate further and further, some saying that they were together even before the army, until the point that it said they already have kids together. The next morning, as Encrid is training, he hears other soldiers talk about his relationship with the ferry commander, most agreeing that they look good together. After he goes back to the bunks, Rem immediately laughs at him, noting that he's finally home. He asks how many months it's been. The baby surely is going to come soon. Encrid, with a rather annoyed face, says that he has heard wrong. These are all baseless rumors. Christ tells him to not be shy as they will find out whether he likes it or not, but Encrid denies it again. Ragna is glad for him. If he keeps her by his side, they can train together, while Auden prays that his future with her is blessed. Encrid feels rather bullied by his own team, and Rem asks when they are going on his little date. It will be weird being the 3rd wheel, but he has to do it. Encrid is confused at first, but he must be talking about the mission, which he is not bringing him on. Rem is confused. Who else is he bringing then? Jackson confirms that he's ready and says that they should get going, but as they leave, Rem screams out, "How can he choose that rat and not him? Has he gone insane from the training?" Encrid notes that this is a tactical decision. He would be the first guy to throw an axe at the commissioner if he got mad, so he would rather not have to deal with that. After they are outside, Jackson asks if he brought him only because he wouldn't make so much trouble, so Encrid tells him that besides that, he takes these kinds of missions often, so he would be of help, right? Jackson understands, but he wants to give him a nice piece of advice. He should not give all his heart to a woman, as it will come back to hurt him in the future. Encrid looks him dead in the eyes and says that he has no need for advice in that department. After they meet up with the ferry commander, he asks when the commissioner will get here, who says that they will come soon. Encrid knows that she heard the rumors and that this will be rather awkward. Sure enough, she asks if they have done something for so many people to think that they have children together. Encrid denies anything while Jackson lets out a snicker, making Encrid ask if he dares to laugh in this situation. The ferry commander asks if these questions are making him uncomfortable, which he denies. She asks if it makes him glad, which he doesn't know how to respond to, and then she asks what he likes so much about it. Encrid really would like to know why she is asking him all of this so suddenly, but suddenly the commissioner arrives. The ferry commander is quite annoyed, as this was getting quite fun. Encrid doesn't know what to think anymore. Was that really a joke when she was basically expressionless? Their mission is to protect the child of a wealthy merchant. In the process of deciding which heir will inherit the Roquefried Trading Company, they have been hired to make sure they don't try anything funny. As she descends the carriage, Encrid thought they would be dealing with some fat toad, but it's the opposite. The woman introduces herself as Leona, heiress to the Roquefried Company, and their protection target. As they walk, Encrid finds it weird that not a word has been spoken since the greeting, and what little communication they have only happens through her maid, who is telling them that they will get a room in the inn, and then wait for the other heirs. They really just hired them as guards and nothing else. He remembers what Auden says. Identifying the age, body stance, and gaze of a person is all useful info. Figuring out the enemy's strategy is a skill in itself. Encrid begins doing just that, spotting that the guard in front of him is left-handed and also has heavy footsteps, meaning that she's pretty armed. Just that sword is telling him that she's strong, but nobody here seems to be as strong as a special rank. Even though he feels like the analysis is lacking, it will have to do for now. Jackson believes that they should partake in a game since they have a ways to go. They should identify sounds. With that invitation, they both begin reciting what they hear first, but Jackson seems to have the upper hand. He is trained in this after all. After they get to the inn, Leona and her guard go into her room upstairs and order them to stay below. The ferry commander sits down next to Jackson and Encrid to join their little game, but this moves Encrid out completely, as he cannot hope to compete against these two. However, the things they are saying no longer seem to be a game, as someone is coming to them, dagger in hand and ready to strike. As the assassins pull up, it doesn't take long for them to react, as they both suspected this ambush. The other guards are rightfully scared. One tries to get to Encrid, but he swiftly takes him out. He hears screams coming from above, and since the commissioner comes first in these types of missions, he rushes to their rescue. An assassin sees this and throws a bunch of knives at him, but Jackson covers his back by holding a stool over him. The ferry commander swiftly sweeps the area of the assassins, who are beginning to show worry, but they are still confident because they outnumber them. As Jackson fights, the ferry commander looks at him and notices he's much stronger than Encrid. Most of the squad members are, but they still listen to and trust his orders. She wonders who helped create all this. It is honestly quite interesting. She kills the guy that was rushing her by simply holding her sword forward. Encrid continues his quest, and it's quite easy for him. After encountering the assassin who tried to get Krang, and that half-fairy assassin, such measly attempts at assassination no longer faze him. Another rushes in, a perfect opportunity for Encrid to test his new physical skills. Although he's still too slow, he can move more freely now. He can feel a difference from the past. Suddenly, Leona's guard is thrown outside of the room, allowing Encrid to move in and see that an assassin is over Leona, with a maid desperately trying to defend her. Encrid would like to use the whistle daggers, but he's too close and stopping him is not a guarantee. Perhaps he can reach them if he tried, but to walk so quickly requires power, and he has only seen it once. He tries to perfectly imitate that person. Even if he can replicate that power just a little bit, it would be enough. Sure enough, he lunges forward at top speed, and before the strike lands, he gets in front of them. He is struck by the cold blade, but even if it hurts, thanks to the leather armor he got, he did not get cut. Encrid believes that they should talk downstairs, so he tackles the assassin and throws him out of the window, landing the assassin straight on his back and knocking the air out of him. Encrid is glad that he managed to cushion the fall somehow, and since there are no more enemies on the second floor, he can focus on this guy. Even if he suffered that fall, he still rose up. That takes grit. He asks Encrid if he's a border guard, which he is not. The assassin is glad. It means that there's no reason why he should lose this fight. Encrid observes him, seeing that he has swords of different lengths, but that does not damage his balance. He probably uses the flowing sword, so responding would be difficult. The assassin vows to kill him, and then that woman, but Encrid tells him that he talks too much, making him charge in. This is Encrid's first fight in a while, against a pretty strong guy. He is happy, however, as he has loads of things to try. The assassin transforms his positioning, making Encrid recognize this as a Valen duet. He dodges the first strike that flows into the second and then the third. They both back away before the assassin moves in once again, but Encrid dodges this time too. The assassin is confused. How can this random soldier avoid his strikes like this? Encrid is impressed by his skills. He could not learn what he just did because he lacks talent. Judging by his speed and accuracy, he's as good as that stabbing bastard that killed him again and again. The assassin moves in with rage in his eyes, but Encrid can see his blade and its trajectory. He's about to try and double swipe at him, but this allows Encrid to move in with his blade and stab him in the chest before he can reach him. He was going for the heart, but he did not hit it. He pulls his blade out of the assassin, thinking that he must improve, perhaps training with Ragna or Jackson. The other assassins run away out of the inn, Encrid immediately preparing to run after them, but Jackson appears and says that his fight drew a lot of attention. Encrid points at the guys getting away, but Jackson doesn't really care, as they were not hired to chase after criminals. Since they are gone, the commissioner is safe. The ferry commander also arrives, saying that he didn't do bad. Encrid asks if she's well, so she teases him. He is quite worried about his lover. She's not going to be able to sleep with these butterflies in her stomach tonight. Encrid stares at her with a sorrowful expression, and unfortunately, Leona has heard this, so she asks if they are in a relationship. Encrid immediately denies such notions, but the ferry commander asks if all of this was a joke to him. Encrid doesn't even know what to say anymore, but can only think about what the hell is wrong with these people. Leona asks for his name, so after she gets it, she thanks him for his protection. He will be properly compensated in the future. Encrid says that it's fine as he bows. It was what was asked of him after all. The next day, more guards arrived in case of a second attack, and the few assassins that were captured were sent to the army. Encrid sits alone at a table and wonders who they are, as some of them were pretty skilled. They were probably sent by the other heirs or something. Leona descends from her room and sees Encrid, surprised to see him up so early. Encrid explains that this is his shift, so he has to abide by it. She suddenly sits next to him and asks him to come to her side. She will give him a chance to join their personal forces. She is asking because their Roquefred company leaves little to desire at this point. Their key partners include but are not limited to the shepherd of the wilderness of the Beastlands, the Black Leather Guild that is famous for hunting dragons, and even the Glacial Rangers, who are the defenders of permafrost. Additionally, the Roquefred map, which outlines key routes and regional specialties, is valuable enough to let those who choose to sell it without wanting anything more for the rest of their lives. All this power is too much to leave to the stupid sons of the previous owner. She must grow this organization, and she needs talented people. People like Encrid, who are talented enough to save her from sure death, and with a personality that does not require additional rewards. A position such as this is wanted by many, so he must not be different. She promises everything he wants, as long as he joins her. Encrid refuses immediately, but when Leona wants to ask why, Jackson arrives and says that it's unsightly to ask after being refused. The ferry commander comes down too, saying that it's unbecoming of her. Leona understands, and since the other heirs will arrive at noon, she bids them farewell to prepare. Jackson didn't expect him to seduce a rich heiress too. Are difficult women his type? He really has to stop going around seducing every woman he sees. Encrid denies all of that, but the ferry commander is hurt. She didn't expect him to be a two-timer. Encrid has had enough and apologizes, but it appears that his tastes have changed. Jackson and the ferry commander are shocked. They did not expect a comeback, but the other guards seem to have heard this, and now believe that he is an asshole who doesn't appreciate his woman. It seems that in this game of fake relationships and love, he remains the loser. As the sun appears over the horizon, Kreis appears too and has heard everything. He spent a night with the commissioner, right? The guard can't believe that he scored a rich woman now and that he's such a heartbreaker. Encrid asks if he's here to make fun of him, but Kreis has come to report about the Gilfin Guild. He has to stay on top after all. Encrid says that it's good he came. He has something he must do. He is still interested in the assassins who got away. He must catch them and see what they are about to do. Rinos Roquefred, the previous owner of the Roquefred Merchant Association, was said to be an honorable man who has a sharp sense for business. He considered his stepdaughter Leona his successor because she shared that same sharp sense and intellect, but he could not bear to push his son out of the race. Because of his indecision, the Merchant Association remained without a successor as he passed away. As his son is being escorted, one of his men says that the assassins have failed, and it's because of him, because he did not leave it to them. This is Paul-eyed Roquefred, son of Rinos Roquefred. The man says that they will have to figure something out, although their agreement still stands, right? Paul-eyed, with a certain stutter in his voice, confirms as such. They will be rewarded handsomely if he inherits everything, as promised. The silent man next to them says nothing. He's a man of few words after all. Soon enough, they barge into the tavern where Leona is held, and he immediately begins complaining. There is too much dust here, but it's to be expected from Leona. Encrid analyzes the silent man closely and can see that he is strong. They exchange glances for a few seconds, but he soon backs off. Polide screams at them to stop sitting around and get Leona down here, making Encrid believe that it was really a good choice to bring Jackson. If he had brought Rem, he would have certainly split his head open already. That's when he sees Jackson slowly moving in with his blade, forcing Encrid to hold him in place as Polide screams at them to move. Fortunately, Leona comes down of her own volition, saying that it's unbecoming of him to scream in such a place, but he is also late. Polide tells her that he doesn't care about that. She should start educating her bumpkin guards first. She suddenly slaps the living daylights out of him, making Encrid wonder if there even is a person around these parts who won't immediately resort to violence. Polide, rightfully angry, asks if she's gone insane, but Leona begs to differ that he is the crazy one. He seems to be messing around with a soldier mercenary of the border guards. Does he want to end up in prison for the rest of his life? Polide did not know about that. He did not know what to say, but that's when the man clears his throat, making Polide say that it was not him. Why does she dare to frame him like this? She is just a mere outsider in this family, yet she dares to yell at him? Leona agrees. She was adopted, but he cannot even analyze trade routes or calculate finances. Polide makes up an excuse, saying that it's a job for his servants to do. Leona is annoyed. She wouldn't even waste time like this if their father's will said that the successor should be decided after talks. This makes Encrid believe that the previous head was quite soft. Leona is much more suited for the successor position. Why did he give this brat a second chance? Leona believes the only argument he has for succession is that he's a blood relative. However, no matter how close he looks at him, he's nothing like her father. His ignorant behavior and ugly mug, she can only wonder where he got it from. Polide immediately begins to pull out his blade in anger, making Encrid do the same, but he sees the silent man do so as well, although in a much calmer manner. The whole room freezes as Encrid stands in front of Leona, his blade inching further out of its sheath as Polide's guards attempt to protect him. Encrid analyzes the silent man's stance a little closer, seeing that it's actually the swift sword. He wonders how fast he will be, perhaps faster than even a whistle dagger. He is too eager to find out, so he desperately wants to fight. He wants to see this man's style of blade. The silent man begins to forcefully move his blade forward, making Encrid smile in anticipation, but that's when someone commands them to stop. The border guard have arrived under direct command by the crown. They will consider their actions treason if they do not put away their blades immediately. Polide is scared by them, and Encrid does as he is told, but he is annoyed that he did not get a chance to fight. Jackson remembers what he said, but if they are both honest, he's the weirdest one here. Torres says that hired assassins were foreigners, so they are taking over this case. They have confessed that they were paid by a merchant association. Surely he did not hire them because of the inheritance dispute, right? Polide is spooked, but the man comes in his defense, asking if the confessions mention any specific merchant association. There probably is no evidence pointing at them. Torres likes that he talks a lot. He must think that they are stupid or something. Leona comes forward and makes an offer to him. They should find more evidence to identify the true perpetrators of this attempt. He should lock both of them up until he finds someone responsible. Polide did not agree to this, but Encrid is confused. Why is the victim asking to be locked up like this? Torres explains that those captured were grunts with no real information. They just kept repeating that they were told to do it by their boss. Leona says that they still have people to interrogate, as a few of them escaped. One of them might be that boss, so shouldn't they try to find them? The leader asks what happens if they still can't find the ones behind this after all this, but Leona supposes that it's theirs to take care of. It's not prudent for her to discuss this matter with them, so they will return to the city under the condition that they all return if he summons them. Encrid sees this as a misplay. They won't be able to protect Leona if she goes to the city, and her bodyguards won't be able to take on Polides, especially that rapier guy. She will immediately die if she does this. She's a smart woman. She knows this already. The only question is why she's even doing it. Leona is a merchant at heart. She will not ask them to do something without compensation. She will give this to whoever catches the people who got away. Her maid gives her something wrapped in a cloth, which is revealed to be the fourth work of the Carmen collection, Carmen's stiletto. This is their reward. Jackson becomes very motivated by what he has seen and volunteers to take this case. Encrid is surprised to see him like this. Just why is that dagger so special? Polide starts to scream at Leona for even bringing such an item to this backwater place. Does she even know how much that thing is worth? Leona calmly tells him that it's hers, and she can do whatever she pleases with it. All the while, Encrid asks Jackson about the stiletto, who is surprised that he does not know about it yet. He goes on to explain that it was made by a legendary weaponsmith called Carmen, who was originally a slave, but he got out and worked as an assassin to enact his revenge, using the 7 weapons that he made. The fourth among those weapons was the stiletto. There are people who would offer up their families for that thing. Since it has come to this, Torres explains that everyone will be held here by them. Nobody will leave this inn unless they let them. Encrid tells Jackson to not worry about the stiletto, as he has sent Christ to get that runaway, so they should hear from him soon enough. As Polyd continues to bicker, the silent man gives Encrid a look, who also looks back. With that, he leaves, and nothing really happens until night falls, and everyone is basically stuck in the inn's area. Polyd wonders what will happen if the assassination attempt leads back to them, but his assistant tells him to relax. They cannot do anything against the border guards anyway, so they have to wait. If they, as siblings, cannot figure out who becomes the successor, then the decision will be left to the investors. That's the moment they need to use. Polyd does not inspire confidence with his tone, although he agrees he has sent word out to all of them that if they select him, they would be handsomely rewarded. The silent man looks out of the window and sees Encrid doing his usual overbearing workout, seeming just as dedicated as before. After he is done, Torres says that he's surprised he still continues with that arduous training regime. Does he not consider this the perfect opportunity to have some time off? Encrid would think the same if they were equal, but he is not a genius like him, so time truly matters. The stuff people like him learn in a week, he needs a month, or even a year to grasp. This is why he cannot waste time, and he doesn't want to anyway. He will use each day to create a better foundation for his future. One of the border guards begins to wonder, is he the odd one here, or are they the lazy ones? Torres is puzzled by this too, so he gets up and tells Encrid to calm down with his attempts at getting stronger. He's pretty strong enough already. They only drew because he did not expect that from him. But what about right now? Encrid knows that this is an invitation, so they begin to fight again and again, Torres continuing to win back-to-back matches. Everyone congratulates Torres and belittles Encrid, but he does not mind and wants to go again. Torres asks how the hell he isn't tired yet. They have been going at it 11 times already. That's when one of them gets up and suggests they swap, prompting others to join the queue as well. Polyd watches this show of strength with disgust. These barbarians really do not know class. The border guard who is now in the ring immediately puts Encrid to the ground, which the silent man watches carefully. Encrid gets up and asks if he can do what he just did again, the silent man recognizing that his pride is not hurt by these defeats. Rather, he is akin to a child who has found a new toy to play with. On top of all that, his open hostility in that encounter, while he knew full well he was stronger, makes him a very unique individual. Even if he is unique, he seems to be falling for the same trick 3 to 4 times. He really has no talent for fighting. However, after experiencing something repeatedly, he gets the hang of it pretty quickly and retaliates in kind. The border guards are all excited to see him finally win, and the ferry commander is saddened to see that he's going around charming everyone, a truly bad man. Leona asks if they are really dating, which the ferry commander denies. They are actually married, and even though they did not hold a ceremony, there's probably a child coming soon. Encrid really can't stand this anymore. He would rather she stay inside of the inn. Suddenly, the silent man speaks and asks if he could join in too. Encrid gives him a look, and Torres wonders what he's thinking. The silent man has learned his name. He has no talent that is worth sharpening, yet he feels the desire to teach him. He cannot hold himself back anymore. The man Encrid was fighting with says that he's in a different boat than them, so he should just sit and watch. But Encrid denies that. He has been waiting for this opportunity. This makes the silent man smile with anticipation. All the while, everyone watches them get prepared. Jackson watches from above and can see that the silent man, even though brandishing just a wooden stick, is extremely dangerous. He gets prepared to jump in, as this might evolve into more than just a friendly spar. Encrid feels a certain tension in his body, just as if he were at war once again. As the silent man strikes, Encrid can see his attack path clearly. Even though he's using a feint, he knows that he's aiming for his neck, so he has to block before it's too late. Unfortunately for him, if this was a real battle, Encrid would have been dead, as the silent man moved far too fast for him or anyone to anticipate. He tells Encrid that he reads attacks quite well, but he has to work on his speed. Encrid expected his swift sword to be fast. It's in the name after all, but it's much faster than ever imagined. He thought he got pretty strong, but this man has proved to him that he has not. They are so far, they are at polar opposite levels. Instead of despairing, however, he smiles and asks for a rematch. The silent man likes his attitude, and so they fight the night away. Most people drift to sleep, only the ones that are interested staying up to watch. The silent man thinks that any man who has held a sword knows the despair of losing when they meet someone they cannot beat. He has shown this guy the gigantic gap between them, but he still refuses to give up. Jackson sees that Encrid's reactions are too slow to be dodging everything. If he continues like this, he will never overcome this wall, meaning that he must teach him more about his speed. The silent man tells him that they should go to bed too, as they don't want to be tired. But Encrid simply calls him amazing. His swift sword, he will learn it someday. The silent man smiles and thinks that he's the amazing one. If he only had the slightest bit more talent, he would have been legendary. As the next day continues, someone screams for Torres, as they have captured the mercenaries who ran away. Encrid nods at Crace to signal that he's done a good job, but he feels it was easy. These rats never hide that well. Leona recognizes him as one of Encrid's squad members, so he thanks him. Torres immediately begins interrogating the mercenaries, asking who hired them, Polide's chest tightening as the possibility of being discovered rises. The mercenary explains that a mercenary association from Aspen hired them. They wanted to expand through the contested zones. Any more than that, he doesn't know. They only got a letter and the money, with the promise of more pay after completion. Leona says that what comes next must be up to them, right? Torres is torn. She seems moderately satisfied with this. Was she not hoping for her idiot brother to be behind this? Leona was enough to offer up the stiletto, but alas, she can't personally interrogate them. Torres knows what she's beating at. It's their job to break these criminals. So he tells them that they can go. He will report what he finds out. As they escort Leona's carriage, Jackson looks with glee at the knife, with Encrid telling him to not let it be seen in public. He has never seen this guy so happy. He's like a kid in a candy store. Crace tells him to not fall in love with Leona, as she's quite the scary woman. But Encrid never had this intention. Crace also thinks that it's weird. No matter how one thinks it, Polide is behind this. But he had a little encounter yesterday after they found those guys. A random guy came up to them and recognized him not only by his squad and name, but also by his title of the Gilfin Guild boss. He said that he worked for Leona. They already had tabs on where those mercenaries were and knew everything about the Gilfin Guild. They wanted to pay the military to let them go, and told them to say what they said at the inn. Encrid does not get why. Will Leona be at a disadvantage if Polide was known to be the one behind this? She says that it's quite a relief her brother is not behind this. It would have left a really bad record on the previous leader's achievements. Encrid wonders if it was out of sheer loyalty for her father, but she guesses that he's not interested in things like this, so she will let it go. Encrid asks if this is going to be fine. They won't be able to protect her outside the border, so if Polide attacks, she's on her own. Leona tells him not to worry. It's already taken care of. Right as they arrive at the town gate, a group of soldiers wait for them, with the leader standing at the front. He identifies himself as the Rocafried Merchant Association Guard Commander Mattis, and he's here to escort the new leader of the association, Leona, who has been voted unanimously in favor by the stakeholders. They all fall to their knees in front of her, with Encrid thinking about what she did. She was held here on purpose, and managed to get a vote going with the shareholders in the meantime. She used loyalty, decisiveness, and information all to win. She really is a scary woman. Leona would like to ask him to join her again, but that would be undignified. He has the gift of making people root for him. He hopes they can meet and help each other in the future. Encrid accepts her handshake and agrees. Polide jumps out of his carriage and asks the guards what they are doing. How dare they betray his father when he raised them from the dirt? Mattis tells him to stop dishonoring his name. He doesn't even deserve to be called his skin, because of how much of a dumbass he is. The people in his carriage think this was a failure, but the silent man says they got something out of it. They now know that the leader of the Rocafried Empire is a cunning woman, and about the existence of a soldier who might shake up the world soon enough. When they were training, the silent man told him to lower his blade, as he admired his strength and the effort he puts into it, but he does not have any talent. At this point, it's just plain depressing. Encrid hasn't heard that in a while, but he never listened in his past, and managed to get all of the way here. The silent man just walked off without saying a word, and that is the last day they met. At the encampment, Encrid wakes up Rem, who tells him to not even say his name, as he's going to hang out with that cat bastard anyway. Encrid explains that he wants to train, and he needs him for that, making Rem's face light up instantly. What Encrid really needs for the Swift Sword is first, the decision-making for finding the most efficient line. After that, the swift movement to back it up, that flows through his body efficiently. He manages to scratch Rem, who is quite confused. With this, Encrid has become faster than him, due to all that he has done again and again. Rem recognizes that he's surprised. He finally figured out how to swing faster, so he will speed up too. Encrid doesn't get it, but Rem immediately bashes him at double his speed, and then goes for his neck, forcing Encrid to back down. He is surprised. His axe was fast, but now it's like a cannonball. Encrid knows he has improved, but there's still a long way to go. Later that day, as he continues to train alone, he suddenly feels someone come at him, so he blocks preemptively. Jackson is glad that his eyes and ears are working well. He won't have to train those anymore, but Encrid doesn't get it. Did he do that just to confirm it? Jackson says that he did, for now, but suddenly, Encrid feels his killing intent and starts to choke. Jackson tells him that this is what comes out of a person's intent to kill another. If he cannot predict an attack from his sight or hearing, he must detect that instead. This skill allows him to detect something that supersedes the 5 senses. It's basically a 6th sense. He will teach him that, in return for the stiletto, of course. Encrid is glad that there's always more to learn. It means that there's an endless amount of fun waiting for him. Jackson explains that the 6th sense borders on his instincts. He cannot rely on just his perception, as that relies on his other 5 senses. His sense of direction, his ability to move, and the way a predator kills its prey, they are all part of instinct. If he repeatedly fights with all his senses on alert, he will eventually be able to detect ill intent too. Even if he tries hard, this won't come easily to him. But as his training continues, his 6th sense will soon open. That night, as he sharpens his blade, Rem says that he looks different, with Encrid thinking that he's talking about his physical appearance. But that's not it. Auden says that he smiles more than before, but that's not it either. Crace knows he's more insane than usual, which everyone agrees with. Encrid says that it's only natural. He's the only normal guy among lunatics. So he seems insane, that's all. As they go to sleep, Rem sees Esther getting into bed with Encrid. She sees that he put his body through hell once again. He's training enough to die every single day. He would have collapsed long ago if it were not for her magic. She cannot have him die, as that will not break her curse. So she decides to enhance his clothing too. Just like his ability to repeat the same day, Encrid trains again and again, never getting tired of it. He knows that this will improve him, and that is enough of a reward for him. However, it seems that he's having difficulty with his 6th sense training, not quite getting it, and making the others disappointed. Rem tells him to forget what he said about him being different. He has not changed in the slightest. Auden is weirded out, as he improved a lot in a day, and Ragna thought of him as a genius, but it seems like that was just a fluke. They all know that there's no better way to learn than the real thing, but Aspen will be quiet for a bit, so he should go and hunt a commissioned beast or something. With that, Encrid goes to the quest board. He thinks that those guys must really want him to prove himself since he's not improving. Suddenly, someone hands him a paper, telling him to take this quest for him if he's not seeing anything fun here. Encrid reads the quest, but it's quite strange, as it's to investigate a shoemaker's basement. Encrid asks the man if a recon party isn't better for this sort of thing, but the man explains that it won't be enough, as according to the shoemaker, there's probably undead in the basement. Encrid doesn't believe something like that can be in the city. That guy must have heard a huge rat or something, and since he needs more experience fighting, perhaps this is too unworthy. The man begs him. He can probably tell, but nobody wants this job. Doesn't help that the shoemaker is short-tempered, but he's a good lad. His wife recently went missing, which probably accounts for his angst, but he can just go and check it out, then leave if he doesn't like it. Encrid goes to refuse the request, but somehow he winds up accepting it. Once he gets there, the daughter immediately invites him inside, as the shoemaker is currently digging into the ground. He is glad to see Encrid, as he found something under the floorboards after just a bit of digging. Encrid is surprised to see a tunnel in the middle of the city. Now he knows this is not just a mere rat. He decides to climb down with a torch, seeing that the cave looks man-made, and since it's large, there's bound to be something down here. He and the shoemaker eventually stop, as they have walked up to a 6-way crossroad, confirming that this is man-made. Encrid decides to take a path while the shoemaker says that there must be an undead, but Encrid tells him to not just walk around randomly. He will head in first and see what's up. Unfortunately, as soon as he steps in the path, he can feel immense heat as a mighty blast arrives within a second and pulverizes the both of them, leaving only their shadows on the dirt path. Encrid wakes up once again. He knows that what he has just experienced was a magic trap. It is common for people to give someone this advice about facing magicians, and that is to simply run. The ones that die in combat with a mage are lucky. If they survive, it's a much worse fate awaiting them. And this advice also applies to traps created by them. He goes back to the quest board and wonders what he can even do against that. What skill can he master to overcome this? The man offers him the job again. Encrid thinking that this needs a magic specialist or higher-up support. It's not like the other walls he has faced up until now, which he could face head-on. He thinks that the ferry commander will listen to him, and before that man goes in alone, he has to be quick. He suddenly remembers just that and rushes to the house, kicking the door down and jumping straight into the hole. He runs towards the crossroad, only to see the shoemaker go into one of the walkways. He tries to stop him, but the man has already stepped inside, so the magic trap blasts them once again. Encrid knows that he must find a quicker way. He needs to go see the man first and tell him to stay out of there. The boatman speaks. He only felt it for a moment, but he did feel it. The mane of his flesh turning inside out, and his body turning into ash. Does he still intend to step towards that flame, which might pulverize him again? Encrid agrees that it was excruciating. It felt like 1,000 needles piercing him in an instant. However, it hurts even more to watch an innocent man die for nothing. That is not the way of the knight. When he wakes up, he immediately dresses and jumps out of the door, Rem wondering where he's rushing off to. Encrid says that it's simple. He's going to save an annoying shoemaker. Rem wonders if he's off to fight leather boot monsters or something, and Encrid gets to work. He cannot make the man stop digging and just ignore it, and he also can't leave this thing under his house. After he digs it up, Encrid orders the man to stay put and not follow him, which the shoemaker doesn't like, but Encrid insists. After he goes inside, Encrid thinks about finding a magic specialist, but that will take a long time, and who would even listen to him? This is a mysterious trap that he has no info on, so someone is bound to die exploring it. He must find as much information as he possibly can, even if it costs him his life. He already knows one of it is rigged, so he decides to test it with his body, but repeating today feels like cheating, so he winds up looking for a better way. He looks for a hint, something that can tell him where the traps even are. As he does that, he wonders how many times he has died already, and what kind of pain he felt each time. When he thought that he already lost, when was that? When he felt a blade pierce his throat when his opponent knocked his blade away, or perhaps by simply feeling murderous intent. He remembers what Jackson told him, that it's something that wants nothing more than his demise. As he walks, he feels a sharp axe come from behind, and just as he steps, he feels it. The axe easily cuts him in half, but he's smiling as he has felt it, the trap's murderous intent. Encrid goes back to the shoemaker's house, his mind filled with detecting the murderous intent of the trap. He decides not to just walk in. Instead, he walks back and forth until he gets a good feel for it. He goes to a path he has not walked on yet and feels nothing. Perhaps this is the right way. He decides to walk to the others. One of them will launch blades at him, and the other is where he got split into two. He finally remembers what happened then, as he did not just detect something unimportant. The shoemaker asks why he's pacing. Does he want to take a dump or something? Encrid told him to stay up, but it doesn't matter anymore. He goes back to the path he has not been on, and decides to keep going until he detects it. Dawn turns to night, and Encrid eventually gets out of the hole, with the shoemaker surprised that he went on for so long without a meal. Encrid tells him that he will come back tomorrow and to not mess with anything, as that place is filled with traps. The shoemaker asks him for help once again. He cannot even sleep because he's afraid that he will lose his only daughter. Encrid asks if he has any leads on his missing wife, but the shoemaker reveals that there's a lot of missing people recently, but none of them have been addressed. So if he sees a brunette woman with freckles, wearing a wedding band like this, he should let him know. Encrid agrees and goes back to his bunk, where he tries to train his killing intent sense, but he misses entirely. Rem chalking it up to him spending too much time with Mr. Bootman. With that, they both go to bed. Encrid recognizing this as the first time he ended a repeating today without dying. What will even happen? Will he just continue the days? He decides to find out by just sleeping, but fate does not let go of him and drags him back to today. Encrid explores the caves again, this time deciding not to sleep at all. He sees the dawn of tomorrow almost go over the mountain range after a long time, but as soon as he closes his eyes, he wakes up in today, with Rem saying the same thing. Now he knows that he must pass this wall to pass today, but that's fine with him, as he had no intention of facing tomorrow without overcoming this. 20 days pass, Encrid forcing his body to listen, as this is different than normal fear. It's something that he must feel, the impending death that is hurling itself towards him. 40 days pass, and he lets go of the torch. He does not need it anymore. 50 days pass, 60 days pass, 70 days, and the horrifying outcomes he faces no longer scare him. Next round, he is ready, as he has trained with Jackson, who was surprised that he figured all this out in just a few days. The 72nd day arrives. He gears up appropriately, Rem wondering if he's going to war on the boots. Encrid knows the 6 paths like the back of his hand, and the only one leads to an exit without traps. That was what he thought anyway, as whoever made this tunnel is a real creep. There are traps in all of the paths, meaning that a safe path does not exist, but there is still a path. The only way to get out of this, though, is just not to stop in the traps. On the first path, there's a laser that instantly kills him if he makes a wrong step, and is probably the easiest to go through. He takes a deep breath and tries to take a step, but the sharp pain of the blast makes him quiver. He decides to move his step a little to the left, and when he finally takes it, nothing happens. He has taken the first step, allowing him to take another, and then another. He is fully focused, and his 6th sense has opened. He sees, no. He feels the steps that he must take, and eventually he succeeds. Once again, he has overcome a wall, the zombies that are coming for him no longer phasing his mind. Actually, he's quite glad to see them. This is an amazing present. As the zombies charge in, Encrid, knowing that these things have a strong poison on their fingertips, even a scratch would lead to a deadly injury. So normally zombies are taken in groups, but for someone like him, who can move and weave with no concern in his heart, this is too easy. He continues slaughtering the zombies with none of them even getting close to hitting him. And after he's done, he thinks that he fought pretty well. So well, in fact, he wishes the others could see it. Suddenly, a bunch of ghoulish beasts appear, something that Encrid does not recognize, as it's a mix of more than one animal. He wonders what is in front of him as a result, and continues his journey. Somewhere close, Esther seems to be on the move, as Encrid seems weird today. Why would he go to a shoemaker while being so heavily armed? Will the boots attack him or something? If he ends up dying, that would be bad for her. He's far too reckless. As she gets to the shoemaker's house, she detects some bad energy, and the unmistakable smell of spells. Encrid finishes off the last beast, but can sense breathing deeper into the cave. It's faint, like it's about to be the last at any point. He wonders if there's another demon nearby or something, but once he gets to the end, he sees a gruesome sight. This cave is filled with body parts of humans and beasts alike, strung on hooks to rot. The person he was hearing demands peace. She wants the sweet embrace of death to take her from this hell. Encrid recognizes that ring. It's the same as the shoemaker's, meaning that this woman is his wife. Suddenly a strange man appears. He has heard some noise. It looks like he has some fresh meat to play with. Perhaps he shall make a playmate for Bamilio, as he's been quite lonely. Encrid asks if these corpses are his doing, which the man does not deny, but those are all trash and failures. This is his best work, Bamilio, a work of art, and soon he will make something beautiful out of him as well. Encrid knows the best way to counter a mage. He has to run, as that might grant him death. If he survives, he will meet a fate worse than death, but he is not scared. Even if he has to try 1,000 times, he will end his miserable life. He throws a flying knife towards him, which bounces off his magic shield, but allows Encrid to move in with a silent strike. The magician, however, easily pushes him away, and in the corner, Esther watches. She knew there was a magician afoot. She has not managed to gain too much power, but if she gathers all that she has now, a small fry like that bastard is nothing. The mage shoots a deadly gust of wind towards him with one simple movement, making a hole in his cloak as he dodges. Even if Encrid can't see or hear it, he can feel his murderous intent. The mage is surprised he dodged, but Encrid goes further than that, and moves in while recognizing all of his movements. A long time ago, he asked his squad mates about what he should do if he had to face a mage in combat. Rem told him to shoot an arrow, but that would honestly be pretty useless considering their speed. Jackson advises that he kill him silently while he is not attentive. Auden just told him to get up closer and personal, but even that fails because of the shield. Ragna told him not to be so scared. Everything that has ever breathed can be killed. Encrid descends upon the mage with full force. This invisible shield makes his whistle daggers next to useless, so he will just smash it open like an egg. The mage wants him to come. He has prepared a strike for when he is most vulnerable, which is now. Esther watches closely as the attack gets closer, but soon relaxes, as she knows Encrid won. The shield suddenly comes apart, leaving the mage defenseless, so Encrid swings his blade with so much force that he almost cuts him in half. For this wall, he did not have to die even once. The mage falls down, and so does Encrid's blade. It took a beating with this, but it served him well. The impact was so strong that he could feel it in his bones, but he wasn't hurt. Perhaps this armor really is that great, and can do much more than block simple cuts. He looks at the shoemaker's wife, and no longer senses her breathing. It has stopped. He has trained his sixth sense so much he could take down a magician, but this is no victory. What he was set out to do, he failed in. As he shamefully walks away, Esther comes in, calling the magician a fool, who lost only because he did not use his creation. This is a flesh golem, created to supplement the physical abilities of a magician, one that will wake up with only a few knocks. She will make good use of it, since he did not. Encrid swiftly reports everything to the ferry commander, who is shocked, and knows that if news about a civilian being experimented on right in the middle of the city spreads, they will not be able to contain the chaos. Encrid thinks that keeping things hidden is best too, but the ferry commander warns him that his contribution would not be recognized as a result. Encrid doesn't care for that. The lives of the citizens are far more important. They soon got to work repairing the tunnels, the people given some bogus story about the Thieves' Guild, one that the shoemaker himself also believes. He comes to Encrid with a gift for all that he has done. His shoes seemed worn out, so he made him some new ones. He's glad he got this off his chest. He hopes that his wife will make her way back safely to him one day. He already knows he has done much work, but if he could at least try one more time to find her, he would be eternally grateful. Encrid keeps silent for a moment, and then says he will do his best. After this interaction, he goes somewhere quiet to collect his thoughts. Was it really right for him to give that man hope? Would it have been better to just tell him the truth? That would have made him despair? If he ever becomes a knight, would he be able to prevent these things? Encrid cannot know the answer to these questions, so he leaves them in the dirt with his old sword. After all of this, Encrid and his team took on a monster hunting quest, thinking that it would be at least exciting, but really, the monsters are way too slow to be a threat, making them pretty bored. Encrid can't deny that this is for normal people. Should he have gone on a solo mission perhaps? Rem notices that he's bored too, but he would like to fix that. He drops his shield and charges in with his blades, surprising the commander of the mission. He tries to tell Encrid to keep that guy on a leash, but Encrid charges in too, despite the commander's screams. As he takes down a beast, Rem tells the commander not to get it wrong. They were the ones who rubbed off his craziness. Encrid can't believe he's the one saying that, but it doesn't matter anyway. Together, they unleash hell on the beasts, leaving the common soldiers to only stare at them. After they are done, Encrid still does not seem satiated, so the commander tells him to go to the armored units if he desires more action, as they are fighting much stronger monsters. Sure enough, besides having to deal with disgusting-looking beasts, deadly harpies are also a concern, who pick up the soldiers with ease, and then throw them from up high, dealing some pretty heavy blows. Encrid and Rem charge in, with Encrid having a history with harpies. In his brief job as a mercenary, his squad was butchered by harpies. He remembers it vividly, because he had really good people around him. He draws his blade sharply, as no more people will die today because of these chickens. One of the harpies sees them charging in, and lets out a high-pitched scream, making the other soldiers flinch with pain. But Encrid is not affected by this disorienting sound. He has faced death countless times after all. He successfully hits the harpy's wing, and cuts it off completely with one last charge. Rem holds another harpy and tells him that he's doing great. Why don't they bet on who can get the most kills? Another harpy approaches from behind, and Encrid says that he's not here to play. He swiftly gets out of the way and cuts down the harpy, making the soldiers think that he's actually pretty cool. Rem doesn't let up either, and together, the harpies are soon dealt with. Torres and his group are there too. They were supposed to help the heavy company, but at this point, they aren't needed. The harpies see Encrid as a threat now, so they swiftly disarm him and rush to incapacitate him, but Encrid takes care of one with a whistling dagger. He's not out of the fight just yet. The other knows that its time is limited. It rushes in, and as Encrid does the same to get his blade, with only a few seconds to spare, he swiftly grabs the handle and cuts up, killing the harpy. The others refuse to fight any longer and leave, much to the soldiers' surprise, to think that they would make actual monsters run away like this. Encrid looks upon what he did. These harpies are probably not the same ones that killed his mercenary group, but maybe one or two were. After his squad was annihilated, someone came and called him weak. All of these bastards died to save him. Now though, he's the one saving others. Torres guesses that they should go back now that they are finished, but one of the squad members suggests they go hunt a beast or something, to not go empty-handed. The armored company leader tells them that they got support for the harpies, so they can go now. But Encrid feels that it's far too soon to return. They should kill at least a couple more beasts. Torres and his company think of him as a lunatic. After helping the armored company, he still trains. Some soldiers are surprised that he's trying so hard, one of them asking the other when he will try so hard, because he's pretty lazy. The next day, Encrid takes another request, promising to finish it by the evening, and getting another, making the boardmaster wonder if he has clones or something. Even after taking care of so many requests, he still trains, something which the soldiers keep in mind, and one of them feels inspired to try too. A day passes, and someone joins him. Another day passes, and the training ground is filled with soldiers. The ferry commander notices how different these guys seem nowadays, and her assistant says that they are all following Encrid. It's basically become a trend. She cannot ignore him anymore with this, so she drags him somewhere empty, as she got some order from above for him. Starting today, his squad, Squad 444, will be promoted to an independent platoon, operating under the 4th Company. This makes him an independent platoon leader. Encrid doesn't understand. They only have 5 men in the squad. They cannot be a platoon, but the ferry commander explains she will assign more men according to his requests. Encrid thinks that being platoon leader sounds nice, but it will be a pain with all the lunatics in his squad. The ferry commander also adds that platoon leaders are exempt from menial tasks, meaning that he will have more time for training. Encrid immediately bows down and thanks her for the opportunity, but she's not done with him yet. She wants to have a duel, and her only weapons will be her hands. Encrid finds this as an opportunity. After his crushing defeat against her, he trained constantly with Auden. It's time for him to see just how far he has progressed in hand-to-hand combat. Encrid remembers Auden's teachings. Hand-to-hand combat requires him to get close, so something quick is much better than something sophisticated. The ferry commander charges in, but Encrid uses his size to block and push her back. He pushes her so much, in fact, he pins her to the ground, meaning that he has basically won. The ferry commander wonders if that is so. Human proposals really are aggressive. Encrid can't believe she's doing this stuff once again. but this leaves him distracted enough for the ferry commander to turn the tables and get on top of him. He analyzed his opponent's weakness and broke them down with his advantage. He really did well for her fiancé. Encrid denies ever getting engaged and tells her to get off of him now. She apologizes as they dust off. She just couldn't help it. Encrid wonders what she's talking about but doesn't care enough to ask. As the cold dies down, the battlefield readies to wake up, and an all-out war will soon begin. The Aspens have begun to mobilize, desperate to rectify the dishonor they incurred from that defeat. With this advent, the army of Norelia began preparations too. A new battalion commander shows up, Marcus, who Christ recognizes as the warmonger. He being here means serious business. He is one of the key officers in the Cyprus division, and unlike his predecessor, he's a great tactician, while being experienced with real battle. He knows that the Aspens are not weak enemies, and their armies are filled with weaklings that only puff off their numbers, besides the heavy armored corps and the border guards. Among these people, there's only one that caught his eye, the platoon commander, the one everyone calls the Spellbreaker. He's been pretty heroic since the last battle. He cannot know if it was skill or blind luck, but he will soon give him the chance to prove himself and how useful he is. Because of this, he and his quad get sent to scout along the Penhanil River, something which Rem finds extremely boring. Encrid doesn't care because he's training, they've got a lot of free time after all. Kreis recognizes this area, and their newest team member confirms it's near the Crossguard, Aspen's fortress city. This is Henry, and he finishes by saying that it was created for military purposes, similar to how they got border guards. Kreis knows that they are probably going to gather a bunch of intel on them, but Rem doesn't want to go, and tells Encrid as such. He is kind of forced in this situation. He cannot refuse an order from the commander after all. Rem guesses that he's going too, if that's the case. But suddenly, someone else comes, announcing that the battalion commander has ordered them to obey his commands, as the new squad leader. Andrew is confident that they will follow his orders, but suddenly Rem approaches, showing off his barbarity, and asking why a little insect is in their corner. Andrew says that he's the new squad leader while shaking, making Auden mock him for it. But Ragna can't believe that such a brat is their squad leader. Andrew won't let up. If they have a problem, they should fight it out. He volunteered so that he could fight by Encrid's side. He's never going to leave. Rem likes how feisty he is. Auden simply wants to loosen up his joints a bit, and Jackson guesses that a finger is enough. Encrid tells them to go easy on him, but his bodyguard begs him to stop this. He asks why. It seems like they are all getting along pretty well, at least in his book. If Rem offers a duel to someone the first time they meet, it means that he likes that person, but the bodyguard thinks that he would likely murder that person too. Andrew continues to try and fight while his legs are quivering. All the while the bodyguard demands he stop provoking them so much. Henri asks Encrid if he knows much about the geography of the river they are going to. It's quite a dangerous area, so he will tell him what he knows once they set out. That night, Encrid sets out, brandishing his new armor. He meets up with Torres, who guesses that he's going out on duty. He has seen him around often. He also heard about his promotion, so congratulations are in order. They are the same rank now. Encrid can't compare himself to the king's finest, but Torres feels that nobody cares about such a thing. He asks how old he is, and Encrid says 30, confusing Torres. He is older than him and has that handsome face. Encrid heard that he should relax, so he will. What's the mission about anyway? Torres explains that they will cross the Penhanil first. He was going to explain it in more detail once the others arrived, but even the bosun is not here. Can't be helped. They should just relax for a little longer. Encrid agrees and starts swinging his sword. Apparently this is what passes for rest to him. Torres can't believe how persistent he is. He trains hard and people acknowledge him. He's also pretty handsome for his age. This bastard. Doesn't he have too much? Encrid notices killing intent coming from him, but it's actually just seething jealousy. Torres relaxes, remembering that their record at the inn was 14-6. He's at least better at fighting. Encrid smiles, as that was in the past, but Torres reminds him that he's not the only one who got stronger. Encrid is glad to hear that, and readies his blade for another fierce number of battles. Torres is the first one to strike, but Encrid retaliates, forcing them into exchanging a flurry of slashes. Torres already knew by watching him fight the harpies, but this bastard has gotten unimaginably strong. He can't go down like this, so he puts both of their blades to the ground and goes for a punch, something Encrid doesn't get, but soon sees the reason behind and barely gets out of the way. The hidden knife slashes Encrid's cheek, but he is more impressed by it rather than scared. This is Torres's hidden technique, hidden knife, and he doesn't have to cut his ring finger for it either. Encrid finds it ridiculous, making Torres think that he's going to call him a coward, but Encrid actually finds it pretty cool and wants to learn how to use it. Torres can't believe him, but agrees to teach him a few tricks. The boatswain actually arrives, but they don't even notice him as they train, making the old man wonder if they are even crossing the river at this point. Eventually they do so, but even on the boat, Encrid continues to learn. They arrive at their destination as day appears. Encrid knowing that they are supposed to meet with a recon team, but he does not know where the rendezvous point is. Torres suggests they wash up for a bit. They are already drenched in sweat as is from their training. Encrid can't deny that after smelling himself, so they both get into the water. Torres turns around just as Encrid is taking off his pants and sees his real fighting sword. He's now even more jealous. His fighting spirit is completely gone. Encrid doesn't get it and asks him to charge if he's ready, but Torres wasn't telling him to spar. Suddenly a woman speaks. She has been looking for them all this time, and yet here they are, taking a bath without a worry. Encrid is surprised by her presence, as he did not detect her or the others. She explains that they must get near the crossguard before the day closes, so they should hurry up and get out. Torres asks how he's supposed to do that with her watching, but she doesn't care what she sees, so they should just come out. Encrid does so first, allowing her to see his fighting sword, something worth looking at. Torres notes that her eyes are obvious, but she promises she was looking at his abs. She introduces herself to Encrid as Finn. She looks forward to working with him. Encrid takes her hand, while Torres wonders if his abs aren't worthy enough. As they walk, Finn explains that before they talk about the mission, she should brief them on the actual situation. Their spy inside the crossguard, codenamed Cat, obtained some critical intel, which they were supposed to receive 4 days ago, but the Cat never showed up to their meeting point, and they haven't been able to contact them since. Encrid asks if they are in danger, which is what Finn thinks, so they will infiltrate Crossguard to rescue them. The very front of that place is the land of monsters and beasts. The enemy uses it as a natural barrier, so they do not patrol in that area much at all. They have infiltration routes too. First, they will use the dog hole, a path usually used by smugglers, which the guards know about, but they choose to ignore it. After that, they will climb over the city wall as soon as night falls, which is physically demanding, but it's also safest. The last option would be to disguise themselves as a merchant group and go in, but this means they will go through the main gate, which is risky, although it's much more convenient than climbing. Her platoon members are to stay at the meeting point in case Cat actually shows up, so only the 3 of them will go into Crossguard. The difficulty is about the same no matter what they choose, so he can choose. Encrid thinks she made it sound easy, but they all know it won't be so simple. Torres thinks she should choose since she knows the situation best, so Finn chooses the dog hole. They will be departing in the morning. After night falls, Encrid continues to train, but the most he can do is throw a rock a few inches from him. Torres wonders how he even learned swordsmanship with those skills, but he will get it eventually. He just needs patience. Finn arrives at their sleeping spot. She wonders why they skipped dinner, but what is he doing playing with his hands? Encrid says it's training, so Finn tells him to fuel up for it. One of her members actually dreams of becoming a chef, and the jerky he made is amazing. Both Encrid and Torres agree that it's incredible, and Finn suggests they ask him for more. His parents run a shop at the border guard too. They should visit it to eat. She also tells them to not go and sleep over on that spot, especially under that yellow rock. Encrid knows that there's a viper there already. He learned this from one of his squad members who was a hunter. Finn is surprised about how well prepared he is. She likes that in a man. Does he want to train with her, but in the way adults do? Encrid becomes confused, but Torres clears it up for him. She's trying to hit on him. Finn thinks that even though she's rough, she's actually pretty nice in the places that count. Torres asks if they mind not doing this in front of his jerky, but Encrid actually refuses. Finn wonders why at first, but then remembers he's actually dating the ferry commander. What a shame. Encrid doesn't understand. When did that joke even become a confirmed fact? Finn leaves while telling him they should speak casually from now on, and orders them to rest, as tomorrow is a long day. As Encrid rests under the red moon, his mind becomes blurred, and the ferryman appears. This makes Encrid get up. He has not seen that bastard for a long time, meaning that he must have something to tell him. He also remembers the ferry commander apologizing for something, but this actually makes him smile. He knows that this mission is another massive wall that he must clear. Torres doesn't get why they are infiltrating at day, so Finn explains that the guards are not clueless, even if they are turning a blind eye. Encrid agrees that they are catching them off guard because they would not expect anything now. Torres feels like he only exists to take the blame, but anyway, Finn notes that they should go. As they move, Encrid analyzes Finn, as she's a ranger, so it's imperative that she move quietly, with as little equipment as possible, because they scout ahead of anyone else. He notices her footsteps that barely make any sound, and wonders if he can do the same. Suddenly, a bunch of guards appear in front of them, clearly coming here for them. Finn tries to signal the retreat, but there are guards behind them too, and the commander tells his men to kill them. They all get prepared for battle. and the crossbows fire, with Finn being the only hurt. They all get to taking out as many guards as possible, but Encrid knows that Torres and Finn are not used to fighting against such a large force. They will not be able to fight at their full capacity. Sure enough, Finn is too focused on a target on the ground, and Torres is defending too much, causing both of them to die at once. Encrid understands. This is the wall he must pass, but he will not just give up. He throws a bunch of whistling knives and rushes in with his blade, but under the orders of the commander, he is swiftly pinned down, and even if he tries to dodge, his death is more than assured. After the reset, Encrid thinks on the situation, as a force of that size wouldn't just appear there. They were waiting for them, so they have to keep that in mind. Finn asks why he's not ready, as it's time for the smuggler's hole, but Encrid explains that he doesn't feel good about that place. How about they enter by scaling the walls? Torres tells Finn that Encrid once destroyed an enemy spell just by following his senses, so listening to him won't hurt. Finn understands, but they will need to wait until night, so time will be wasted. Encrid suggests they go for a round, with Finn not knowing that he liked it during the day. Encrid was talking about a regular duel, which Finn is disappointed by, but she doesn't work with swords. Encrid tells her that they should fight without weapons, which she can do. Encrid thinks that the enemy might be knowing of their arrival either way, so they will end up fighting in every situation. It will be good to know how capable the team is, and to get some training in while he's at it. Encrid asks if she wants to attack first, but she beckons him forward, making him charge in with a punch that leaves him open for a kick that he blocks with his other hand. Finn seems to be backing down, but charges in with a kick instead. Encrid knows this is dangerous, so he thinks that he will use the same tactic as the fairy commander and charge her because of his superior size. But as soon as he pins her to the ground, she catches his hand and puts him in a leg lock. Torres sees that she clearly won and stops the match, with Encrid thinking that even if small Finn is packed with muscles, there's a reason why she prefers barehanded combat after all. All in all, she's the perfect training partner, so he asks if she wants to go another round. Finn says nothing but makes a face, making Encrid repeat that he meant to spar, but Torres just asks them to stop doing this in front of him and everyone else. As the day sets, Finn notes that they will soon go, but wonders if Encrid will go out like that. He asks if there's something wrong with his attire, so she explains that he's got too many weapons. He's going to pass out from exhaustion before he climbs the wall. Torres asks how he's doing, and Finn just looks at him and says that he's fine or whatever. He goes to cry in a corner because of his hurt feelings, and Encrid tells her that he can probably climb the walls fine with this much gear. Finn likes how innocent his thinking is. They aren't just climbing the walls, but those mountains too. Encrid knows that climbing will be a challenge, but none of his walls have been easy to climb after all. When he returned from the magician's tunnel, he picked up some small trophies to buy a new sword, since his old one broke. Krace was shocked when he saw the magic tools he brought. Just one of these would get him enough krona to buy him a full set of equipment. Encrid told him to get him the best sword for that amount, making Krace wonder if he thinks about anything else besides his sword. Encrid is doing this because to a person that lives by the sword, their blade is the only lifeline they have. Heading out without a sword is not an option. Finn thinks that he really should have left that longsword behind, even if we're to put away all the other weapons. Only carrying that thing will drain him. Encrid agrees, as it's pretty damn heavy however. His muscles, which have been pushed to their limits to become stronger, will not allow him to react to something like this when he has passed harder challenges. This much is nothing. He finally makes it up, with Finn noting that he's just making things difficult for no reason. But Torres wonders if he just brought it to get some training in. Suddenly, a pack of lycanthropes rushes below them, with Torres saying that it's rare to see them move in such big packs. Finn tells them that they have to be on guard from now on, as the wall is right in front of them. Even if they want to climb it, they can't take any cover, because there's still light out. Finn tells them not to worry too much. It's actually so bright when the two moons are up like this, that the guards do not pay much attention. So at her signal, they charge in silently. But Encrid is the only one who notices the guard that was presumably ignoring them stare right down their souls. They do make it to the wall, and Finn notes that it's like she told them, pretty easy. Encrid is sure that the guard saw them, but maybe his visions are playing tricks on him. They get ready to climb, while Finn explains that past this wall is the slums. If they hide there, there is no way those bastards can find them. She also suggests that Encrid ditch his sword, as this climb will be much harder, but he says that this will not be a real workout without some weights. Finn thinks that he really is insane, and as they climb, Encrid understands why this would be the safest route. If they do get past the walls, infiltrating Crossguard will be easy, but only if this wasn't a wall. Just like how there were guards ambushing them in the tunnels, there's a pretty good chance that they will be waiting here too. He wonders, How do they plan to stop them now? As soon as they step on the wall, a woman tells them that they worked hard to get here, but now they can rest. She throws a bunch of vines at them, and Finn tells them to duck, as this is a magician. She begins throwing her knives while telling the other two to run to the base of the wall, but the mage simply destroys anything that comes next to her. Encrid certainly did not expect such an impressive trap, but he charges in nonetheless, as he has dealt with a magician before. Using his sixth sense, he can close the distance. As he does that, he remembers what Jackson told him, to trust his senses, but not swear by them. A strong opponent will fool any sense, especially magicians. Sure enough, he is pushed away by the vines, and Finn screams at him for being an idiot, causing both her and Taurus to be impaled. No matter how much he tries, Encrid cannot take the vines away from himself. The mage applauds his courage, so before anything, she reveals that she is Retcha of the Rose Vines. With a clenching of her fist, she explodes Encrid. He was a fool, just like how not every foot soldier is equal. He shouldn't have expected the same thing to apply to magicians. He was cocky. He got drunk on the fact that he got stronger and charged in without any type of analysis. The ferryman wonders if he knows his place now. He finds it odd, using the power of today to get stronger instead of suffering for his consequences. But against such an overwhelming wall, he is nothing but an ant. Encrid thanks him. He reignited that fire within him. This is exactly what this wall needed. The ferryman smiles, as he wonders if he will say that after meeting the third wall. Encrid tells Finn that he wants to enter as a disguised merchant this time, as he has a bad feeling about the other ways. Finn agrees, but they will have to enter along with the merchants who go in regularly, and that would be tomorrow morning. This is a problem, as Encrid cannot make a day go by without surpassing the wall. How will this manifest now? Torres says that there's nothing they can do, and since they have time to spare, Finn knows what they have to do. She tells one of her men to bring out everything, and they pull out an assortment of drinks and meats. But Encrid wonders if they will really do this in front of the damn enemy. He asks if being so relaxed isn't dangerous, but Finn says that it's inefficient to stay stressed when there's nothing to do. One tends to lose their foresight when they are so stressed. He should also drink and relax, as his shoulders look quite tense. Encrid has always done his best, and thought that was for the best. But perhaps Finn is right. He tunnel-visioned, and began to think the only way to surpass these walls is to face them head-on. He should think calmly about it. Struggling head-on is not the only way. Today, even this moment, will eventually become a part of him. Finn told him to rest, but she does not get what he's doing at all. Torres guesses that this is resting for him, but even if she doesn't get it, Finn notes that he's a delight for her eyes, much to Torres's dismay. Night arrives, and Encrid had a revelation today. That alone made it productive. They should have arrived at the walls at about this time. The first time it was the guards, the second time it was a magician atop a wall. Now what will stand in their way? Suddenly they all hear the blood-curdling howl of a lycanthrope, and Encrid immediately realizes that they are the same ones that they saw in the second today. Finn tells everyone to run, but they are cornered by the beasts. Unable to move, Torres notes that they need 10 men for a single lycanthrope, and there are like 20 of them. They are as sure as dead at this point. Finn doesn't understand. When did these guys arrive when there were no monsters nearby? Encrid thinks her senses were fooled, meaning that this might be the work of Retcha. He did say that he would not throw himself into his problems, but he will not be taken down easily. He tries to use his senses to dodge, but the lycanthrope attacks are irregular and come from all over, proving their will nature. He is forced to block the next attack with his blade and tries to zoom out his focus, only to hear everyone else being butchered by the beasts with no sign of remorse. He knows that none of this matters once this day repeats, but seeing all those deaths, it is still too painful. He begins to take down the beasts one after another, but one much larger than the others crashes his fist in his chest. This is likely the leader of the pack. He throws Encrid into the air, leaving him defenseless against the maws of the other lycanthropes. The ferryman tells him that no matter what he picks, the walls are all hopelessly tall, and as long as today exists, he will be forced to repeat the situation over and over. Does he still find it fun now? Encrid says that this is certainly not an ideal situation, making the others confused, but he mustn't give up on the situation, as he will find a way, even if all three paths are blocked. They go through the tunnel once again, as Encrid thought what could be done if they get surrounded, and there is nothing to do. He will not be fighting one-on-one like Torres and Finn might like, and even if he gets surrounded like this, he cannot do much. The best move is to avoid getting surrounded in the first place, so he uses his instincts to find where the ambushers are. Unfortunately for him, his senses fail him, and they get killed once again. He guesses that there is magic here too, so he climbs the wall once again and asks Retcha if the magic planted in the crawl hole was her doing. She cannot believe that the others got caught properly. Captain Roger was not doing his job, it seems. With that, she kills him, and he continues his training with the hidden blade. Although it's not working well, he knows that once a mage is involved, one cannot use their senses anymore. Even that simple trap becomes dangerous, and since their enemies are all obsessive lovers, they cannot shake them off easily. The same goes for the lycanthrope. He has to fight many all at once. Can he even make up that difference? As he charges in, though, he thinks that this is no good, as he's just lashing out once again. He doesn't have to rush his thoughts, as this is a rare chance to fight in real combat, as much as he wants to, and no matter how much he dies, the knowledge he gathers will always stay with him. The ferryman wonders how long he's going to keep playing around. If he doesn't want to be stuck here forever, he should pick a wall and just crash into it. Encrid explains that the more he repeated it, the more he felt it. All three paths are solid walls, so it's a shame he just has to choose one. Then the next day, Torres sees Encrid training with the hidden blade, which he is now able to expertly take out. He wasn't able to do that yesterday, so how did he do it now? Encrid notes that it took 30 days to achieve this, and ignores Torres when he asks what he means, as he built up enough skill. This is his 70th ninth today. Now he will cross the wall and move to tomorrow. He knows that there's still some time until they go through the hole, and asks one of Finn's men to make him a small pouch that he can strap on his wrist. The soldier agrees, and Encrid moves on to Finn. As those boots, there is something different on the inside, right? Finn confirms as such. They got extra cloth to muffle footfalls, as there are a lot of sensitive beasts around these parts. Encrid notes that they should all wear them, even Torres. As they walk through the hole, Finn wonders if he worked as a ranger before, as even without the boots, it's hard to walk so quietly. Encrid kept practicing repeatedly. To survive this stage, he had to find the ambushers first and create an opening, but finding something in this darkness is not easy. However, they have an expert in that field right here. He asks what will happen if enemies are waiting in the crawl hole, which Finn finds the chances to be slim, but they will just retreat. Encrid asks what they will do if their routes are blocked. How high or wide is this tunnel anyway? Are there perhaps any other side paths? Torres asks if he's scared or something, as that's a lot of questions for him. Encrid just says that if armed guards were waiting ahead, they would all be dead, right? Finn tells him to sit it out if he's scared. Better than him saying all that ominous stuff. Encrid just wants them to be a little careful. He has to make his teammates move how he wants, and given their status, he cannot just brute force it like in the past. He must use persuasion. He has to be like Krang back in that old infirmary, a forceful will that conveys his words exactly. Finn admits that she has been too relaxed, and by raising her senses, she is able to discern that the footprints they see were deliberately erased. With that feeling, she tells everyone that they have to turn back now, but the crossbowmen are already searching for them, ready to strike at any moment. Without warning, Encrid rushes forward and says that he's a messenger from Captain Roger, surprising the two, but the crossbowmen don't know anything about a messenger. They still let him approach foolishly, allowing Encrid to start his true climb. Thank you for watching. See you next time.